A classic showdown between humanity's heroes and some big, bad demon emperor. This final clash unleashes a blinding explosion of power, just pure world-ending chaos. Ground shatters as the attack lands with devastating force, a direct hit on the emperor. In the smoldering ruins of the battlefield, the great battle finally seems to be over. Humanity's 5 heroes stand victorious over the slain emperor, but they have clearly paid a heavy price. Glan desperately tries to heal Sofka the sage, but she tells him to stop, it is no use. This blonde knight explains the grim reality. The emperor's final blow was just too much for her. Absolutely refusing to accept this outcome, Glan just screams at them all to shut up. But Sofka gently stops him, begging him not to waste his energy trying to save her. With a tearful smile, she says she is content with this ending, which is a terrible thing to be content with. This whole team remembers their promise to all make it back alive, a vow now tragically broken. Suddenly, Glan hears a voice he absolutely should not be hearing, the demon emperors. Then it hits them, they have been tricked, and the emperor's flesh and blood is corrupting them all. This was his true ability all along, a nasty final surprise for the so-called winners. Glan's body is being twisted and warped, half of him becoming a monster, talk about a bad prize. This emperor's spirit gloats, calling this parasitic evolution his one and only true power. He is literally being absorbed into the monster, fighting a losing battle against this horrific transformation. His reward for the heroes is to become spare parts for his brand new body. And of course he has got his demonic sights set on Glan, the strongest human vessel. This flawless knight can only scream Glan's name as the corruption takes over his friend. This flawless knight tries to run himself through, screaming he'd rather die than be a weapon. But Glan, now half monster, catches the blade, begging him not to kill a comrade. His friend yells that he is losing control and that Glan is his only family left. In a twisted move, Glan offers his own sword, telling his brother not to make this a family tragedy. He then taunts the knight for hesitating, asking why his sword is trembling. This guy literally holds the sword up for him, basically daring him to make a move. Meanwhile, the emperor's corruption gloats that resistance is pointless, his right side is already gone, and the knight finally gets it. Glan's move was not weakness, it was something else entirely. Suddenly, a blade slices through the air with incredible speed. This knight stabs Glan clean through the chest, a total shocker. Leaning in, the now corrupted knight says only the ruthless are worthy of this power. He calls Glan brother while revealing his power. He gets stronger with every life he takes, a real class act. But as Glan is stabbed, his right hand is suddenly freed from the demonic corruption. This female hero can only scream his name, seeing what just went down. In a final plea, both she and the knight tell him to do what is necessary, a willing sacrifice. Glan's face shows new marks appearing as he absorbs the power of his fallen comrades. A massive roar erupts from him as he channels all that raw, sacrificial energy. This emperor's consciousness mocks him for trading 3 lives just to free one hand, but Glan just says one hand is all he needs to finish this for good. His solution is to put the sword to his own neck, ready to end it all, talk about a final gambit. This emperor's spirit is absolutely done with this, screaming that it has had enough of Glan's resistance. It roars about its patience, wearing thin as a demonic fist just shatters the blade to pieces. Glan's corrupted side is the one doing the smashing, looking absolutely furious in the reflection. And just like that, the legendary holy sword Sulla is completely destroyed in a sea of blood. This emperor's consciousness gloats about its invincible shell, thinking it has totally won this fight. But a crack appears in its perfect little world as Glan's voice cuts through the noise. Our boy throws the emperor's logic right back at him. If the sword could kill him, why could not Glan just destroy the sword? In a move nobody saw coming, Glan shoves his own corrupted hand straight through his chest. This emperor's spirit freaks out, finally realizing Glan's insane, last-ditch plan. A blinding flash of light erupts from his body, a self-destructive epic proportions. When the dust settles, a massive, dead husk of the emperor's power stretches across the horizon. Glan muses that this is his end, fated to die by killing, taking the emperor down with him. Kneeling in a pool of blood, he regrets failing to save anyone as his body crumbles away. His life is clearly fading, a quiet and tragic end for the hero who sacrificed it all. A giant armored being looks down on the scene, calling the whole thing a pity, talk about a mysterious observer. Then we jump forward a whole 5 years with a strange light streaking across the night sky. Down in a spooky forest, some demons are grumbling about their boss being gone for half a decade. One of them is completely clueless, saying he was just told to bring 4 human girls and a demon kin. A mantis-looking demon tells him to get in line, explaining tonight is the anniversary of the emperor's death. This guy then addresses a whole crowd, promising this year's memorial will honor their creator's great sacrifice. This mantis-looking demon kicks off the ritual by ordering the slaughter of 4 human sacrifices. With a single brutal slash, he executes the pure offerings for the ceremony. All the other demons immediately descend into a ravenous frenzy over the remains. But the main event requires demon blood, according to the bug in charge, and their special sacrifice is a guy hanging from a tree looking a whole lot like Glan. He wakes up completely disoriented, wondering where the hell he is. Our boy's last memory was dying, so this whole situation is understandably confusing. This mantis demon immediately puts a blade to his throat, telling the trash to stay put. He's then called the weakest, most worthless demon of the lot, a real confidence booster. This news comes as a total shock to him, since when was he a demon? His captor calls this whole sacrifice thing a great honor, which is just peak villain logic. But just as the blade comes down for the kill, he snaps his arm free from the vines. He manages to dodge the fatal blow, though the blade still nicks his arm. Now the mantis is absolutely livid, screaming that he has ruined the entire ceremony. Another slash sends him flying as the demon wonders if that dodge was intentional. Landing on his feet, Glan asks the half-breed demon if he seriously does not recognize him. A sudden wave of fear hits the mantis as a memory starts to surface. He sees a vision of a much more powerful Glan and finally screams his name in terror. Then we flash back to the past, with the same mantis demon looking like a low-level grunt on a ship. Someone off-screen barks at him to stop staring and get back to rowing, calling him a rookie. Turns out our mantis friend got a promotion. Now he is the one yelling at the grunts to row harder for the four lords. They were all part of a massive naval invasion, with ships getting absolutely wrecked by giant sea monsters. This Lin clan was using some sea god's power for a surprise blitz on the human coastline. Total chaos. They even brought a sea dragon king to the party, and the attack was so fast only one hero showed up in time. That one hero is a single dude on a wooden raft, ready to take on the entire demon fleet by himself. And of course it is Glan, the legendary god of war's descendant, looking ready for a very unfair fight. Then a full-on demon king descends from the storm, ordering his entire army to crush this one guy. Glan just grips his weapon, about to show them exactly why he is the only one who needed to be there. This mantis demon stumbles through the aftermath, realizing everyone around him is dead. In a panic, he reports that the entire army got wiped out, except for one of the lords who survived. This whole battlefield is just a graveyard of ships and bodies in the pouring rain. And standing in the middle of it all is Glan, covered in blood but looking completely unfazed. Yeah, he single-handedly stopped the whole invasion. No wonder the mantis is having a panic attack in the present. Back in the now, the bug is absolutely losing his mind as this memory comes flooding back. He even remembers Glan giving a lecture on demon anatomy while ripping his comrades apart at the joints. Meanwhile, Glan figures out he has been resurrected, but his mountain of corpses power is back at level 1. This other demons, not knowing who they are dealing with, decide to bum rush the legendary hero. Bad move. He effortlessly dodges and carves up the first attacker like it is absolutely nothing. Then with a single massive swing, he takes out the entire charging mob in one clean slice. Glan notes the lackeys were too weak for a real boost. As his power levels up to 9, he gets stronger with every kill. One of the smaller demons is left absolutely paralyzed with fear after seeing his buddies get diced. But the mantis leader, recovering from his panic attack, whips his bladed tail forward. He stabs his own terrified minion right through the back, pinning it to the ground. This little guy screams in agony while the mantis takes out his frustration on him. Glan, meanwhile, completely ignores the drama to cover the bodies of the human sacrifices. He then takes a moment to examine his new demon-marked body, trying to figure this all out. In a moment of hope, our boy tries to cast one of his old healing spells, but the spell backfires horribly, twisting his arm into a mass of writhing demonic snakes. He stares in pure shock at his monstrous new hand, a total perversion of his old power. Looking at the dead demons around him, the grim reality starts to sink in. He collapses into the pool of blood, completely overwhelmed by this horrific transformation. It finally clicks. He was not resurrected, he was reincarnated into a demon's body. He clutches his head in disgust, calling this new existence utterly shameful. Gritting his fangs, he seethes with hatred for this lowly race he is now a part of. Then he just snaps, screaming that their only purpose is to be slain by his hand. After that little outburst, a cold, terrifying calm settles over his face. He spits on the ground in a final gesture of absolute contempt for his new form. Seeing this, the mantis demon gets brave again, promising to torment Glan for his arrogance. He calls Glan the weakest demon, completely failing to read the room for the second time tonight. Convinced he has got this in the bag, the mantis crawls down to teach the coward a lesson. While the mantis is still monologuing, Glan is already scaling its massive tail for a counterattack. But the bug just slams its tail down, thinking it has got him pinned for good. Glan lands hard, wondering what he even has left if all he can do is slaughter demons. Then he just grins, deciding he has nothing to complain about. This is his purpose now. He pieces together that it has been 5 whole years since he took down the Emperor. First order of business is finding a safe spot to figure out this whole reincarnated as a demon thing. While climbing, he spots a familiar landmark, the skull of a giant troll he personally killed. And of course, the local demons built their new base right inside it, real classy. The sheer scale of the troll's skeleton is just insane, a whole mountain range of bones. He finds an old cave hideout he used to use, confirming his memories are still sharp. It looks clear of any demon activity, making it a perfect temporary base of operations. Settling down by a fire, our boy finally gets a moment to himself to process everything. A wave of memories starts to hit him, taking him back to a completely different time. With his new demon claws, he starts carving a small piece of wood. It is a flashback to his old squad, all joking around and giving each other hell after a battle. One of them is teasing him about his tailoring skills after he had to make a grass skirt. This whole crew is just dying laughing at him, a much happier time for sure. Back in the present, his face shows just a hint of that old, familiar annoyance, but it quickly turns into a sad, nostalgic smile for his lost friends. He holds up the finished carving, a tiny wooden figure of his armored comrade. His new demon hand gently touches the carving of his old armored friend. He has made the whole squad a sad little wooden reunion around the campfire. Glan's mind drifts back to those days, a time before all this hell. But then he just crushes one of them, furious at his own past failures. This regret in his eyes is sharp enough to cut stone. With a heavy heart, he tosses the broken memory into the flames. This carving turns to ash, a final, painful goodbye to his past life. A flash of his true nature appears, the god of war born from a sea of blood. He realizes that as a demon, he can finally become the ultimate inside agent. Suddenly, a massive headache hits as the original owner's memories flood his brain. It turns out this body belonged to some bottom feeder demon getting yelled at for eating. This poor schmuck was a weak serpent blood, bullied into doing farm work, seriously farming, and apparently demons have school now, complete with boring geography lessons. The students are already over it, using the original demon as a footstool while begging for practical lessons. Glan is just floored by this revelation. Demons are getting an education. He always thought they were just mindless killing machines made by the Emperor. Yet in only 5 years, they have built a whole society right under everyone's noses. He looks out at the world, blaming his past weakness for letting things get this bad. So he makes a new vow to get strong enough to fulfill his promise and wipe them all out. A quick look at a map reveals his new home, Recruit Training Camp 2, located inside the giant skeleton. So this is Recruit Training Camp 2, a lovely little dust bowl built inside that giant troll's skeleton. A very angry red demon drill sergeant is giving a geography lesson nobody seems to have studied for. From the back of the crowd, Glan listens in, finally getting a handle on the current situation. Turns out in the 5 years he was dead, demons formed 5 courts and now control half the continent. This lesson on talent marks begins with the instructor smashing a recruit's face into the map. Great teacher. He explains that every demon is born with one of these innate abilities, unlike those inferior humans. Using these skills, whether you are a demon or human, consumes your internal mark power. Then he lays out the power rankings, from a lowly 1 mark up to a legendary 6 mark. Our boy in red proudly flexes his own 2 mark status, calling all the rookies scrubs. Glan checks his own hand, realizing he is a 1 mark with a rare serpent blood power he needs to test. This instructor stresses that reaching 2 marks is the real goal since it unlocks your ultimate technique. But just as class is getting interesting, the whole crowd of recruits is shoved aside. A new hotshot shoves Glan out of the way, clearly trying to make a big entrance. And here he is, the camp's genius recruit, a smug-looking dude with a belt full of war trophies. He immediately starts mocking Glan, calling him a farmer who does not belong here. What a charmer. This sergeant, tired of the drama, orders someone to kick Glan to the dung pit before starting practical training. His next lecture is a classic. Raw power is not everything, you actually need to use your brain. To prove his point, he unveils a massive chained beast for them to analyze and find its weakness. This blonde genius gets a nasty grin, seeing a perfect chance to show off and torment our boy. And their test subject is a giant boar demon, the very last of 10 super weapons made by the old emperor. This drill sergeant explains the test. Find the one weak point on this giant howl demon before it tears them apart. Glan, meanwhile, is already completely over it, finding this whole demon boot camp incredibly boring. He actually just turns to leave, annoyed that he cannot slaughter everyone here to level up his power. A moment of caution stops him since he is too weak to cause a scene and attract unwanted attention. But then the chained beast's eye flashes with a terrifying, intelligent gleam. It immediately breaks its chains, sending the entire crowd of recruits scattering in pure panic. Our red drill sergeant desperately tries to hold it back, screaming at the monster to stay put. He's got its throat wrapped, boasting that he has found the weak spot and has it completely under control. This beast just gives him the most unsettling, toothy grin you have ever seen. Then it starts talking, mocking the sergeant for being a naive fool who is easy to trick. Turns out it was just playing dumb for weeks and plans to wipe out all the recruits for a double success. With a single earth-shattering stomp, the ground beneath it completely explodes. A single swipe of its claws later, and the overconfident drill sergeant is instantly ripped in half. All the recruits, including the blonde genius, are frozen solid with absolute terror. This monster then goes on a rampage, turning the entire training ground into a bloodbath. Seeing this, the genius decides it is time to bail, not wanting to waste his secret weapon here. Just as he is about to flee, a hand grabs his shoulder. It is Glan, stopping him cold. This blonde dude absolutely loses it, screaming at Glan for blocking his only escape route. Glan just calmly wipes a splash of blood off his own shoulder, looking completely unbothered. Behind them, the massacre rages on, but it is clear the real fight is about to start right here. This howl demon is having the time of its life, mocking the recruits as it tears through them. On the ground, the blonde genius decides he has no choice but to use his secret weapon. But Glan just stands there, facing down the charging beast like it is a minor inconvenience. 2 massive claws descend on our boy, who seems completely unfazed by his impending doom. A wisp of green energy leaves his lips as he gives the monster the most bored look imaginable. This completely throws the howl demon off, who cannot figure out what this strange aura is. It is genuinely confused why this pitiful weakling is not terrified, even suspecting he knows its weakness. This monster scoffs at the idea since its 9 kin died years ago. No way this rookie knows anything. With a mighty stomp, it decides to just crush him and get this whole embarrassing situation over with. Yeah, it is definitely a bluff, the monster tells itself, trying to regain its shattered confidence. Glan just stands his ground, his very presence warping the air around him into a pit of despair. Then he delivers the coldest line of the century: take one more step and you are dead. Enraged, the howl demon powers up, refusing to be looked down on by some no-name recruit. Our boy does not even flinch, just stands there while the genius watches in total disbelief. A massive shockwave erupts from their confrontation, blasting debris absolutely everywhere. And the howl demon just flies away, deciding it is not worth the risk to fight a potential hidden master. All the survivors are left staring, completely floored that the unstoppable monster actually ran. Glan then turns and offers a bloody hand to the blonde genius still sitting on the ground. This genius is immediately suspicious, thinking it is a trick while still calling Glan a worthless serf. He slaps the hand away, smugly asking if Glan really thought he'd fall for that. What a guy. This genius recruit tears a piece of Glan's sleeve in a fit of rage, clearly not over it. Glan just uses the scrap to wipe his hand clean, looking bored out of his mind. This sends the blonde dude into a full-on meltdown, screaming about Glan being a dirt farmer. Meanwhile, the rest of the recruits crowd around our boy, dying to know how he scared the monster off. So Glan feeds them a total lie about howl demons having static vision, something he read in a book. They completely buy it because the book's author was a legendary demon slayer who was actually Glan himself. Internally, he is just thinking, go ahead, stand still and die, knowing he just sent them to their doom. This blonde genius, however, is not buying it for a second, still convinced Glan is just an arrogant serf. His lackeys check on him, but he plays it off like he is just tired, definitely not shaking from terror. With his ego in shambles, he orders his cronies to follow Glan and kill him in the most humiliating way possible. His shadowy goons are more than happy to oblige, promising a very satisfying death. As Glan walks away through the empty camp, he knows he is being tailed. This ambush squad makes their move, unleashing a thick mist to conceal their attack. Inside the fog, they desperately try to track him, yelling at each other not to lose sight of their prey. They surround him with shadowy snakes, mocking his weak poison and thinking this is an easy win. This goons decide to split up to flush him out, feeling completely in control of the situation. But then one of them starts screaming in agony, claiming a snake bit him from the inside. Green energy begins to violently erupt from the demon's stomach as something pushes its way out, and his entire torso just explodes in a massive burst of venomous power. This remaining attackers are frozen in the green haze, watching in horror as their buddy gets erased. This remaining goons start screaming as the poison mist burns their eyes, not a great start to their ambush. Inside the haze, Glan's shadowy form is all they cannot see as they stumble around blindly. Our boy is just using them as live fire targets to test out his new demon powers. He activates his serpent blood thermal vision, letting him see his panicked attackers perfectly. From his paw, snake tendrils erupt from his body to strike them down with pinpoint accuracy. While the goons panic about what is happening, Glan is just taking notes on his new combat flexibility. One of the last attackers, a big red dude, transforms his arm into a massive axe blade. Glan just watches from the shadows, looking completely and utterly unimpressed by the light show. This red demon and his buddy finally step out of the mist, convinced Glan is helpless without it. With a furious roar, the big guy charges forward, ready to end this with one big swing. He puts his whole body into a massive cleaving attack, aiming to split Glan in two. This swing is so powerful it creates its own wind currents, definitely overkill. But his little blue buddy suddenly looks absolutely horrified by what he is seeing. Glan's expression, meanwhile, is just pure unadulterated boredom. This red demon's attack is effortlessly stopped, and he gets shredded in a single counter. His partner's face says it all, pure pant-sweating terror. Now on his knees, the last goon begs for his life, trying to blame the blonde genius for everything. Glan's response is a deadpan, not convincing enough, which is just cold. Desperate, the guy offers to lead him to the genius's secret treasure cave to save his own skin. This actually gets Glan's attention since he needs sacrifices to level up and unlock his true power. Glan follows his new guide to a waterfall, figuring he might as well check the cave for loot. This terrified goon points out the treasure is hidden right behind the waterfall. What a helpful guy. But the moment his back is turned, Glan grabs him by the throat because trust is for suckers. He then shoves the poor sap straight into the waterfall, which is actually a massive arrow trap. Standing over the pincushion corpse, Glan just offers a deadpan thanks for triggering it for him. This cave entrance is now clear, littered with the arrows that were clearly meant for any intruders. Meanwhile, at some ridiculously evil-looking skull fortress, a report is being made. A subordinate tells his shadowy leader about the Howl Demon incident and the snake demon serf who handled it. This leader, a purple-haired demon woman, finds the news of a powerful serf very interesting indeed. And here she is, Round Mountain's leader, Bone Crusher, looking every bit the part on her throne. Back in the cave, Glan finds the so-called treasure is just one tiny, disappointing box. He opens it to find a small pouch, but is immediately interrupted by someone screaming at him. It is the blonde genius, storming in to reclaim his property with all the subtlety of a freight train. He is absolutely furious that some farmer dared to touch his precious belongings. Glan dodges the kick and casually shatters the guy's leg in a single, brutal counter. This genius finally realizes Glan is on another level, connecting the dots on why his goons never came back. With a busted leg and no room to maneuver, he knows a direct fight is just suicide, so he makes the only smart decision he has made all day and decides to book it. His talent seal. Rock Feather Garment sprouts wings, letting him make a speedy getaway. Glan just stands there, drenched by the waterfall, and dryly notes it is another bird demon. Glan just watches the bird boy escape, internally sighing about how annoying avian demons are. He has a pretty bad history with them, remembering them as a uniquely frustrating type of enemy, so he immediately gives chase, launching himself into the air after his fleeing target. Knowing they are a pain to kill, he closes the distance with a burst of green energy. Our boy then delivers a devastating flying kick right to the genius's surprised face. Their mid-air brawl sends them both tumbling out of the sky in a chaotic freefall. While plummeting, Glan grabs the guy's head and starts delivering some brutal facial reconstruction. This bird boy desperately claws back, managing to land a solid hit of his own. That counterattack blasts Glan away, sending him hurtling towards the water below. He hits the lake with so much force he literally hydroplanes across the surface. A little bloodied but otherwise fine, our boy stands on the water, ready for round 2. This genius hovers above, mocking him for being unlucky enough to land in a bale lake, and right on cue, shadowy, blood-soaked tendrils erupt from the water to ensnare him. They have got him completely wrapped up, looking like some kind of demonic sushi roll. Our villain keeps monologuing, promising to savor every moment as Glan gets ripped apart. He explains this lake is the literal bile of a powerful demon clan, gross but apparently effective. While the genius is yapping, one of the tendrils forms a fist and just decks Glan in the face. This blow sends him reeling, blood spraying from the brutal, unexpected impact. But instead of going down, his eyes just flare with green light, completely unbothered. This genius finally gets a clue, looking absolutely stunned by the power Glan is unleashing. Birdboy's ego is back, saying Glan's power is just from farm work. What a comeback. From the water, Glan unleashes a massive burst of green energy, clearly done with the monologue. Suddenly, the bile lake tendrils erupt under his command, looking way more vicious than before. A whole swarm of these new demonic snakes shoots up towards the airborne genius. This guy is still mocking him, calling him a slow farmer who cannot even haul dung properly. His wings slice through a few of the snakes, but the sheer number is overwhelming. He keeps dodging and weaving, calling Glan's attacks worms only good for tilling soil. This genius promises a slow, agonizing death as the tendrils completely surround our boy. Down below, the bile lake churns into a massive whirlpool of demonic energy. And from that whirlpool, an absolute legion of venomous snakes explodes out of the water. They rise into the sky like a horrifying, bloody rain, blotting out the sun. Glan just stands in the middle of it all, his eyes glowing, looking like this is just another Tuesday. One of the snakes coils into a massive, energized projectile aimed right at the target. It smashes right into the genius's face, wiping that smug look off permanently. Stunned, he cannot believe Glan is suddenly getting faster and faster. The panic is setting in. This lake is now a graveyard of shredded tendrils, a testament to the brutal fight. Internally, Glan notes that absorbing these weaklings only unlocked his second seal, but it is enough for this bird. With a terrifying grin, he promises to slice the guy's skull cap off the next time he blinks. This bird boy is completely rattled, calling him insane while desperately pulling out a bow. But Glan just blitzes him, moving so fast the genius cannot even process what is happening. Birdboy goes full-on supervillain, screaming about being underestimated while charging up a massive lightning arrow. He unleashes his magic arrow, convinced fate itself handed him this epic finishing move, very dramatic. Glan's reaction to this supposed ultimate attack is just a dead-eyed stare of pure contempt. This arrow slams into our boy, who just casually catches it midair like it is a beach ball. Instead of exploding, the projectile dissolves into a swarm of snakes that start coiling around his arm. These shadowy serpents completely engulf Glan, wrapping him up in a writhing cocoon. This whole snake ball then plunges into the lake, leaving nothing but a splash behind. Only a single hand remains above the surface, crackling with energy before it too disappears. This genius lands, trying to look cool and wondering if his big fancy arrow actually worked. Suddenly, his sister runs up, worried sick about her dear brother. A family moment. He immediately puffs out his chest, pretending he just handled a little thief and was not getting his face rearranged. While putting on a brave face, he is clutching a wound, clearly more hurt than he is letting on. She hands him the pouch from the cave, which is apparently medicine for his eyes that he died to protect. Meanwhile, underwater, the genius realizes his arrow did not work as planned, it is just being absorbed. Glan is just bathing in the arrow's energy, wondering why his body is suddenly going into overdrive. His serpent instincts are taking over, his eyes glowing as he communes with the snakes. He is pulled into a blinding white void, his physical form dissolving into pure consciousness. Inside his mind, a new seal unlocks, forming an infinity symbol from his own power. A new, white-haired version of himself awakens in this mental space, finally understanding everything. He smirks, realizing the arrow was a sacrificial treasure that just fed his primal, greedy serpent nature. This sacrificial arrow just unlocked Glan's ancient serpent bloodline killing power. It is a state called One Serpent Molt, which is basically a massive, violent level up. His entire being just erupts in a chaotic storm of raw, untamed purple energy. Meanwhile, the genius is on the shore, confidently declaring Glan is now fish food. He is trying to play it cool for his sister, pretending he is not still bleeding from his mouth. But a storm suddenly rolls in and a clawed foot steps out of the water. This two of them look up, completely confused by the sudden downpour and dark clouds. This genius recognizes the energy as savage dark thunder, and the panic starts to set in. Down in the lake, the water churns with a violent purple glow, crackling with lightning. Then a massive pillar of pure demonic energy just erupts from the surface. This blast sends a shockwave that nearly knocks the two bird demons off their feet. This genius shouts that something just jumped out of the lightning bolt. His sister points in terror, her eyes wide with absolute dread. And there he is, standing on a rock in the middle of the lake, wreathed in lightning. Birdboy can only stare in disbelief, his whole I-1 act crumbling instantly. Glan's new form is just pure shadow and lightning, with long white hair to complete the look. Our two geniuses are just frozen, realizing how badly they have miscalculated everything. In his new fierce thunder form, Glan calmly says he has kept the guy waiting for his death. This genius charges, screaming about him being a farmer, while Glan calls this whole thing his mistake. With one last desperate cry, Birdboy flies in for an attack against a completely transformed Glan. Glan's lightning-fast punch connects, sending a shockwave of pure purple energy through the genius. This genius goes flying, absolutely furious that a farmer could outplay him. Ego meet pavement. His wing gets absolutely shredded by the impact, a brutal confirmation that this fight is over. Floating over his victim, Glan casually mentions this is not even a good warm-up for his new powers. He then blasts the guy straight into the lake, which is apparently this family's favorite punching bag. His sister watches in pure terror, her "my brother is so cool" act completely shattered. Seeing the overwhelming power, she makes the smart choice and just bolts for her life. Meanwhile, our defeated genius is face down in the water, whining about not being strong enough. His big fear is that Glan will target his sister next, and that thought triggers a last-ditch power-up. With a classic shonen scream, he unleashes a torrent of golden energy, refusing to go down. Glan's reaction to this dramatic power-up is a completely deadpan "oh, the disrespect is real." This guy's now rocking a golden feathered authority form, standing defiantly before his sister. She is shocked he finally unlocked his true power, calling him her stinky little bro, a touching moment. Deciding she is done being a damsel, she activates her own ability, a beast summon demon eye. From the depths, she summons two absolutely massive, terrifying beasts to join the fray. He channels his new power into a falling sky arrow while his sister's pets roar for battle. Back on the lake, Glan just stands there, letting the rain and lightning wash over him unimpressed. His body crackles with even more intense purple energy as he crouches into a launch stance. In a flash of light, he explodes forward, a blur of pure destructive power. And he just completely bypasses their ultimate team-up attack like it is standing still. Glan's fist connects with a sickening crunch, completely shattering the genius's face and his ego. This impact creates a massive explosion of purple lightning that just tears through the air. His power manifests as a terrifying demonic maw ready to swallow the bird boy whole. With a move called Viper Bite, he slams the golden feathered genius straight into the water. Believing this is his opening, the genius screams that this is his one and only chance. He launches a sneak attack using insect corpses as a shield, a truly disgusting strategy. This swirling vortex of golden fire and dead bugs barrels right towards our boy. At the same time, his sister unleashes her own power to reinforce their family team-up move. Together, they form the Cloud-Weaving Storm, their ultimate last-ditch attack. This genius is absolutely certain this cannot be blocked, screaming his lungs out about it. For a brief moment, Glan is completely engulfed in their combined power, looking overwhelmed. But then his own abyss storm erupts from the inside, utterly annihilating their attack. This genius is sent flying, splashing down into the lake as his sister rushes to his side. Totally defeated, he tells her to take the pouch and run, trying to play the noble hero. He desperately holds out the bag of medicine, his final act of protection. And then Glan's foot just lands right beside him, casually ending the dramatic farewell. Our boy picks up the pouch while the genius begs, surrounded by dozens of floating eyeballs. Glan reveals the medicine is fresh human eyes for the sister's disease, a problem a healer could fix. Now completely broken, the siblings grovel for mercy, saying he can just take them all. With his back turned, Glan asks one final chilling question: did their victims beg for mercy too? His siblings just stare, completely broken by his final question. Glan calmly offers them fruit, demanding a simple yes or no on whether their victims begged for their lives. They can only look at each other in utter despair, trapped by their own cruelty. And the sister's genius response is, "I forgot, real convenient amnesia you got there." As he washes an apple, Glan concludes that demons, civilized or not, are still just predators. He muses that they simply treat life as worthless, thinking it is only natural to harm others for gain. With that thought settled, he takes a huge, decisive bite out of the apple. Internally, he notes his new thunder form is a massive boost but too draining for casual use. Back in his base form, a faint crackle of purple lightning reminds him of the power he now holds. Elsewhere, two new demons discover the siblings' bodies, realizing the storm was not the cause of death. Their heads were blown clean off by a lightning strike, a swift and brutal execution. Suddenly, a new armored chief arrives, annoyed that an uninvited guest has been in her territory. From the shadows of the forest, Glan silently watches the investigation unfold. This chief announces that she will personally handle any future mysterious deaths of talented newcomers. Meanwhile, our boy is already walking away, back in his unassuming farmer getup with a hoe. But the chief's sharp eyes catch a glimpse of him, her suspicions clearly raised. She confronts him, demanding to know who he is, and he plays it off like he is just looking for fruit. She recognizes him as the farm slave from the rumors, leaning in to intimidate him. With a dismissive shove, she tells him there are more important matters at hand. Then she pins him with her foot, demanding he find her some good fruit for a pie talk about a power trip. Glan is still pinned under the chief's foot, completely at her mercy after that whole fruit incident. She leans in and threatens to make a tasty dish out of him, a totally normal request from your new boss. With that charming introduction over, she just walks off, leaving him in the dirt. Internally, Glan is already analyzing her, noting her seal power is a high-level defensive type. He breaks down the matchup. He is a speed specialist who is completely outmatched by a defensive tank. Her silhouette lingers in his mind, a new and very dangerous obsession taking root. Walking away, he cannot help but think how killing her would be a massive level up for his own power. But he admits the power gap is huge and he does not know her weakness. The odds are basically zero. His serpent instincts are screaming, a primal craving to hunt her that he can barely suppress. A giant glowing green eye opens over the landscape as a single thought takes over. The hunt begins now. Meanwhile, the chief is in her library, flipping through a demon talent book to identify the killer. She rules out an electric prison user since the wounds on the bird demons do not match at all. Another page describes a power called Sea of Corpses and Blood, which gets stronger with every kill. Still, she keeps flipping, getting more and more frustrated that she cannot pinpoint the culprit. Glan, on the other hand, is scaling a cliff, planning a patient hunt for a perfect one-shot kill. Elsewhere, two demons are nervously hauling a cart, terrified the chief will discover their secret business. They pull up to a hidden spot, confident their little side hustle is completely off the radar. Nearby, a bug thing is about to spear a very plump, unsuspecting frog. Until Glan's head pops out of the water, his glowing eyes locking onto the poor amphibian. He picks up the frog, realizing this hidden spot is perfect for farming some power-ups without being noticed. Inside a hidden cave, a demon guard stands watch before the massive doors to a secret market. Glan gets stopped at the entrance with a rabbit-eared guard demanding a token for entry. He steps into a bustling underground street, a torchlit haven for all sorts of shady dealings. One demon shows off with a fiery kick, just another Tuesday in this chaotic marketplace. Overhearing some grumbling, Glan learns demons miss the good old days of openly buying humans, so inconvenient now. A vendor tries to hawk some legendary Anxi steel, promising it'll boost sword powers like crazy. But his potential customer scoffs, since apparently no blacksmith can actually forge the stuff anyway. Elsewhere, a crocodile demon is selling potions brewed from human hearts, a totally legit business venture. Two other demons gossip about the chief banning the human trade, calling her resource conservation idea insane. One of them is convinced her sudden change of heart is just part of some grand secret plot. Meanwhile, a red-horned auctioneer announces a bargain on a new slave who is missing their eyes. A buyer complains, connecting the dots to that brother-sister duo who were harvesting eyes for medicine. As the auctioneer tries to calm the crowd, Glan watches from the shadows, completely stone-faced. He then steps up and says he will take them all, shocking the merchant who doubts he can even pay. Glan offers the Fierce Thunder arrow as payment, which the demon recognizes as the bird boy's ultimate weapon. This deal is struck, and the merchant tells his men to lead the slaves away while he and Glan talk. A group of humans, including a blindfolded child, are roughly herded through the market like cattle. This little boy stumbles and falls to the ground, getting yelled at to hurry up by the guards. He gets dragged by the rope, his foot getting badly scraped as he is pulled along the rough ground. Watching them go, the crocodile demon grumbles that he wanted to keep the meaty one for himself. This merchant assumes Glan is scared of the bird boy, confirming he is in a hurry to sell. With a greedy grin, the demon rubs his hands together, thinking he has just scored the deal of a lifetime. This heavy door slams shut, sealing them inside a very private, torchlit room for the transaction. And immediately, the merchant is screaming as Glan's purple energy just rips him to shreds. His body is completely overwhelmed by the dark power, a truly pathetic end for a greedy fool. Outside, the only sign of the negotiation is a pool of blood seeping from under the door. Glan then calmly walks out, leaving the absolute carnage of his business deal behind him. A quick look back reveals the entire room is just a bloodbath of dismembered guards. Meanwhile, the freed slaves are being led away by another demon, who warns them to stay silent. His charming threat to roast their tongues is cut short by a very fast, very final interruption. Because Glan appears out of nowhere and takes the guard's head clean off his shoulders. Looking at his hand, he notes he finally has his own power, but some internal count has just rolled over. This little girl watches in pure horror as the guard's body collapses right in front of her. She looks up at Glan, stammering that he is a demon among demons, completely terrified. Internally, he is just glad his cursed happy day authority failed to trigger, dodged a bullet there. Now he stands before the two kids, who are still bound and uncertain of their new savior. He holds out a small pouch to the blindfolded boy, asking if it belongs to him. This little guy immediately recognizes it, nodding eagerly that it is his. As Glan tells them to follow, the girl asks if the boy is supposed to hold the rope. But our boy just snaps the leash, saying he does not like seeing people tied up like that. Glan sets up his new camp, complete with some carved figures and a frog, very homey for a mass murderer. Using his new powers, he heals one of the slaves, who is just overjoyed to see again. He then restores the little boy's eyes, who thanks him profusely while his sister makes excuses for the others. This girl asks the million-dollar question, why would a demon save them? His answer, because I wanted to. She is, understandably, completely baffled by this incredibly unhelpful non-answer. Glan just shuts her down, telling her to be quiet while he is busy, not exactly a warm and fuzzy savior. He then muses aloud about how he should send them all off, which sounds incredibly threatening. An incredibly tense silence falls over the group as they wait for his final judgment. This air gets so thick you could cut it with a knife, with nobody daring to even breathe. Breaking the tension, the little girl points out how super awkward this all is. Then she gets a brilliant idea to lighten the mood, a real life-or-death gamble. She decides to tell a joke because what else do you do when a demon is deciding your fate? Her joke is a long setup about a half-price drink special at a local festival, and the punchline is a classic dad joke about ordering the second drink. Peak comedy right there. This other freed humans are just sweating bullets, not finding this funny in the slightest. With the joke bombing hard, the girl just holds up a peace sign, totally deadpan. But then a small breaks the silence, someone's cracking up. This two adult men actually start laughing, and the girl is thrilled someone gets her sense of humor. Just as things get wholesome, a black serpent tail whips out of nowhere. It wraps right around the little girl's neck, and she screams in absolute terror. But the serpent tail is not for the girl, it is for the two men who are getting choked out hard. Her joke-loving buddy is also getting constricted, calling Glan benefactor through the pain. Glan just sits there looking down on them with disappointment and calling them naive. While being strangled, the guy gives a whole speech about how demons are always venomous. It is a lesson he apparently learned the hard way, remembering a demon who taught him about betrayal. In an instant, all the former slaves are knocked out cold on the ground. Our boy looms over the little girl, asking why she is even resisting the poison. But she has already figured it out, realizing he only meant to knock them unconscious, not kill them. He just gives her that classic stoic, unreadable stare in response. She argues that he was just teaching them a lesson, so he asks what makes her so sure. Because he is a asterisk good demon, she declares, putting all her trust in him, a real high-stakes gamble. With her brother drooling on the floor, Glan just asks what she wants from him now. She wants to follow him, but he immediately shuts her down, calling her useless baggage. Not so useless, she says, revealing she is a swordsmith named Sulla who will not slow him down. That name rings a bell, and he asks if she is the granddaughter of someone named Alexius. Sulla is completely shocked he knows her grandpa, looking up at him with wide-eyed surprise. He explains they met when he was a teen and he even held her as a baby. This triggers a memory, taking us to a bustling blacksmith's forge from the past. Her grandpa Alexius lays down his code: he will not forge for kinslayers or murderers. And then he points right at a younger Glan, saying he reeks of both crimes, a smell he cannot forget. Back in the past, Alexius tells a younger Glan to get lost, but our boy drops sister Daya's name for a special sword commission. This old smith's attitude changes instantly, confirming if he means Daya from the Sect of Mercy. Glan gives a simple nod, letting the name drop do all the heavy lifting for him. Trusting Daya's judgment, Alexius agrees to forge the weapon to repay an old favor. As a final touch, Glan wants a statue from Daya incorporated as the sword's handguard. Inside the workshop, Alexius tells him to be patient, as a masterpiece cannot be rushed in a few days. He also mentions his daughter-in-law is due soon, a happy family detail that feels incredibly ominous. Sometime later, Glan is crawling through a blizzard, clearly having survived something awful. He arrives at the smith's village to find it completely destroyed, his new sword standing alone in the snow. Alexius is there cradling a baby, and Glan's first question is about his weapon priorities, man. This heartbroken grandfather just gestures to the blade, telling him to take it himself. And there it is, the sword named Sulla after his newborn granddaughter, the very same one from the present. A hooded Glan then asks the inevitable question: what happened to her parents? Alexius explains they were killed when a pack of monsters calling themselves the demon race attacked the village. These invaders apparently slaughtered everyone they saw, leaving nothing but ruins behind. This old smith then asks if Glan's own companion, Sister Daya, was also killed by them. With pure hatred in his eyes, Glan confirms it. The demon race took everything from him too. Looking down at the orphan child, Alexius laments that she never even got her birth blessing. Glan stares at the infant, his expression turning from grief to cold determination. Reaching out, he gives her his own blessing instead, a wish for a life free of suffering, which has worked out great so far. He finishes his blessing with a vow to take her name on a legendary killing spree as you do. Back in the past, Alexius asks if he should ditch the Mercy handguard since Glan's fresh out of it. With his new sword in hand, Glan charges straight into the entire demon army alone. He literally scoffs at the concept of mercy while staring down the horde that took everything. Alexius's voiceover explains that mercy is not about healing, it is about preventing harm entirely. And Glan's method of prevention is about to be demonstrated with extreme prejudice. His new life goal is to slaughter the wicked before they can even touch the innocent. So begins an absolute rampage as he carves his way through the demon ranks. This guy becomes a whirlwind of pure vengeance, leaving nothing but carnage in his wake. This one-man assault continues relentlessly, the bodies just starting to pile up. He cuts them down so fast they do not even have time to register their own demise. Until he is standing on a literal mountain of their corpses, completely covered in blood. In Alexius's eyes, this total annihilation is what true mercy actually looks like. Flashing back to the present, Sulla asks why her uncle looks like a demon and also has not aged. Glan gives the classic "it is a long story" excuse and turns the question back on her. She's got her own tragic backstory, vowing not to go home until she forges the ultimate demon-slaying blade. Her fiery resolve is literally reflected in his eyes as he takes in her declaration. To her shock, he actually encourages her and she is stunned to get a pep talk from a demon. While she is still processing, Glan just calmly picks up a piece of wood to start carving. He admits he is envious of her passion, a surprisingly tender moment from the guy who just had a murder flashback. Glan leaves a parting note for the slaves, inventing a vampire knight to take all the credit. When they wake up, one guy is losing his mind with joy, thinking a legendary hero saved them. This whole group, now bundled in furs, sits on a hill and looks toward their new freedom. Sulla's little brother asks with wide-eyed hope if their heroic savior was actually real. Back at the camp, a heavy anvil slams down because it is time to get to work. Glan reports to Sulla that he dealt with some guys and brought back the necessary tools. She proudly presents the simple forge she built, acting like it was absolutely nothing. But her mood sours as she complains the best steel is in a demon-controlled mine, making her skills useless. In response, Glan just holds out a chunk of that very same impossible-to-get ore. He casually says he grabbed it, and Sulla is just starstruck, calling him a master thief. She then boasts she is one of only 3 people alive who can forge it, along with her grandpa and one other. That third person is the current war demon king, Agricola, a name that instantly darkens Glan's face. Sulla explains this demon king is a legendary smith and that only 6 such weapons exist in the world. This revelation has Glan realizing he needs to get way stronger to face this new generation of demons. As he turns to leave, he tells a worried Sulla that he is just going to continue his hunt. Elsewhere, a demon guard reports to his chief about the market massacre, blaming their own race's base nature. This chief, a purple-haired demoness, casually orders the bodies hung in the square while taking a bath. When her underling asks how to find the culprit, she coldly tells him to get lost and do his job. She then adds a threat to kill the farm slaves if their breakfast is bad tomorrow, a truly reasonable manager. And with that, she sinks back into her hot spring, completely untroubled by her own monstrous orders. Meanwhile, the demon chief is just chilling in her bath, craving some high-quality sugar, which sounds ominous as hell. Her guards are gossiping about recent troubles, wondering if some high-level bandits have snuck into the territory. Glan overhears them theorize someone could be hiding their power level, which is exactly what he is doing. Of course, they laugh it off because what kind of powerhouse would be hiding among them? Oh wait, our boy's plan is simple. Posing as a weakling is the perfect bait for leveling up on unsuspecting bullies. Nearby, some other demons find another dead genius, noting a suspicious pattern of rising stars getting snuffed out. This catches Glan's attention since he is innocent of this particular murder for once. He realizes there is another predator in the area and now he has got competition. With that thought, he starts stalking through the desolate streets, senses on high alert. And just in time because a hand comes flying at his face out of nowhere. He dodges, looking up to see a projectile hurtling down the empty alleyway toward him. This whole place is eerily quiet, a perfect setup for an ambush. Glan dryly notes that whoever is tailing a farm slave probably is not after his agricultural secrets. He then spots a cloaked person trying to slip away down an alley. Not on his watch, Glan instantly closes the distance in a flash. He throws a full power punch, aiming to end this little game immediately. This blow lands dead center, a direct hit that should have flattened anyone, but his target does not even flinch and Glan is shocked by their insane defensive power. As the first guy just stands there, another cloaked assailant appears on a rooftop. It is a team effort. Realizing his punch was useless, Glan follows up with a kick that sends the guy flying into a post. This other assailant on the roof unleashes a massive wave of water down into the alley. His attacker, a cloaked woman, lands behind him with a flourish, clearly not done yet. She is actually surprised he is still standing, calling him a stubborn mule for taking the hit. Thinking she has overestimated him, the woman goes for a killing blow with a sharp hand strike. But Glan just grabs her arm, unleashing a terrifying surge of purple energy that he was hiding. She is completely floored by this sudden power spike. This is no weakling farm slave. Beneath his hood, Glan is sporting a grin that just screams, "You messed with the wrong guy." Their combined power erupts in a flash of light, blasting a huge crater into the ground. This whole street is now a disaster zone, torn apart by their little power level pissing contest. With his disguise shredded, Glan realizes she is tough, having tanked his attack by reinforcing her body. They are now separated by the wreckage, staring each other down from across the ruined alley. From her perch, she hurls a massive, strange sheet of energy down at him to finish the job. This attack completely blankets the area where he was standing, a very unsubtle move. When the dust settles, the alley is empty. Glan has completely vanished. It is the demon chief from the bath, and she gives up the chase, admitting he is just too fast for her. She is already daydreaming about capturing him, debating whether to kill him or make him her dog, so many healthy options. Elsewhere, Glan reflects that he can only land superficial wounds on her at his current level. He decides he needs to molt into a new form with enough power to actually beat this tough nut. This upgrade process looks incredibly painful as he clutches his head, feeling the change start. A shadowy, more monstrous version of himself flickers into view, hinting at the transformation to come. As his transformation racks him with pain, Glan's mind flashes to the original Sulla. Back with the current Sulla, he calmly points out her brand new forge is missing a chimney. She immediately freaks out about the rising heat, scrambling to save her project from ruin. With the legendary Anxi steel glowing cherry red, the real work finally begins. Sulla is sweating buckets, pouring all her focus into handling the precious metal. A quick quench in water sends steam everywhere and the blade is finally forged. She proudly presents her work, explaining she made it extra balanced for his weak current form. In her mind, this is a historic moment, the first Anxi steel weapon of the new era. With total gravity, she asks him to bear witness, and he actually looks impressed. This finished product is a beautiful, wavy blade that practically hums with power. He gives her the praise she is desperate for, and she is absolutely over the moon. Glan then brings up the tiny issue of it not having a hilt, and she admits she ran out of materials. Our boy just wraps some cloth around the tang, deciding this half-finished sword is good enough for now. She even names it Little Sulla. Since he already has a sword named Sulla, this will not get confusing at all. Holding his new weapon, Glan's dark, serpentine energy immediately swirls around the blade. He internally notes this sword will be the perfect offering to absorb for his Serpent's Molt power-up. But he holds off, deciding to wait until the evolution is complete to get the maximum effect. Sulla, meanwhile, is just thrilled to be his smith, promising to keep working hard. She later asks him to show off a legendary sword technique, but he claims the terrain is not right, classic excuse. This next morning, after all that forging and excitement, the little blacksmith is completely passed out. Sulla, still passed out, starts dreaming about some seriously good-smelling food. Her eyes pop open to find a massive, delicious-looking feast right next to her. Glan casually explains he learned to cook at the Royal Academy. Our boy has hidden talents. And now we see Glan in his new form, carrying that same platter right into the enemy's den. He is waltzing straight into the Demon Chief's throne room, a food delivery service from hell. It is a silent stare-down between our vengeful hero and the smug demoness he is about to fight. Presenting the platter, he gets an order to show her the goods, and she is not talking about the fruit tarts. She thinks he is smartly serving himself up to her, completely missing the delicious irony. This demon chief is just loving this, totally oblivious to the fact she is the main course. Turning her back to yell for wine, she gives him the perfect opening, a rookie mistake really. In a flash, Glan unleashes his true power, the food platter exploding as he strikes. She barely dodges, now with a cut on her face, and recognizes Sulla's legendary Anxi steel blade. He warns her that the next hit is going to be the last one she ever feels. Panicked, she activates her own special ability, a defensive talent seal. This summons a massive golden shield. Dawn's Aegis, just in time to block his attack. Glan confirms his suspicion that she is a defensive type, deciding to test her a bit more. This demon chief is clearly not a fan of this particular surprise party, looking pretty rattled. Our boy then mocks her, asking if he should have added more honey. The trash talk is immaculate. With that, he unleashes a furious barrage of attacks, aiming to shatter her defense completely. This whole room erupts as his demonic energy crashes against her golden shield. Glan's demonic blade smashes against her golden shield in a massive explosion of power. With a smug little grin, the demon chief decides to switch up her defensive tactics. She unleashes a twilight assault, meeting his blade with her own focused energy. Her shield then morphs into a massive drill aimed right between our boy's eyes, but Glan's new sword, glowing with his own power, manages to block the hit. Their clash shatters the throne room, sending debris flying in every direction. This sheer force of her attack sends Glan skidding backwards across the ruined floor. She mocks his all-offense style, telling him he will burn through his energy like an amateur. Internally, Glan calculates his remaining power, deciding to switch from brute force to a smarter plan. He then unleashes a massive net of lightning to try and trap her from above, which she finds absolutely adorable, casually walking through it like it is just a light drizzle. Glan realizes she is using an old insulation technique he invented, now stolen by the demons. He is absolutely furious that some demon thief is using his own moves against him. Completely oblivious, she just asks why he is getting so worked up all of a sudden. She then lunges forward with another one of her golden drill attacks, going for the kill. But he vanishes and reappears behind her, running her straight through with the Anxi blade. Lifting her into the air, Glan looks down on his impaled opponent, thinking it is over. Somehow, she is still talking, laughing at him for getting distracted during the fight. Suddenly, she unleashes her own bloodline power, summoning shadowy green serpents from her body. And with a snake wrapped over her eyes, she calls his ultimate move a cheap trick. This is not going well. In response, Glan's blade ignites with Requiem Steel, a power specifically meant to seal her abilities. This demon chief just scoffs, asking if he seriously has the nerve to bring that out against her. Declaring the warm-up over, Glan unleashes his true demonic form, ready for the real fight to begin. Then we get a quick lore drop about an ancient hero who fought a giant lava serpent trying to eat the moons. This hero won by choking the snake to death but died in the process, a classic heroic sacrifice. Back in the present, the demon chief is suddenly surrounded by golden light, looking genuinely concerned. Her eyes widen in panic as she realizes she is a split second too late to stop his next move. Glan spots the perfect opening as she switches from offense to defense, diving in for the kill. In a brutal flash of red, he lands a devastating blow that tears right through her. A cold, determined look from our boy basically says this is the end of the line for her. But she is just grinning through the pain, revealing that getting hit was all part of her trap. Got you. She then summons a massive golden gauntlet, the hand of final will, around her entire arm. Winding up for a punch that looks like it could level a mountain, she puts everything into this one attack. Glan barely gets his arms up in time to block the incoming haymaker from hell. This impact is absolutely insane, blowing the entire throne room floor apart in a golden shockwave. Sent flying, he realizes his insides are basically scrambled and he needs to find an opening to heal fast. His dark energy desperately tries to wrap around and contain her overwhelming power. Thinking on his feet, he grabs her arm, trying to turn her brute strength against her with a joint lock. Our boy smirks, calling himself an experienced fighter ready for a little groundwork. He is not just a swordsman, and with perfect technique, he flips her clean over his shoulder, breaking her stance and sending her flying. Pinned to the ground, she is actually impressed he is still conscious, noting his insane pain tolerance. With a smug grin, she says it is a pity to just kill him. Here comes the villain job offer. Glan just grits his teeth and applies more pressure, clearly not interested in her HR pitch. And there it is, she asks if he has considered a career change by working for her. He gets blasted away for his silent refusal, which she takes as a very clear no. Winding up that golden gauntlet again, she decides to just end this the old-fashioned way. Her fist connects with a massive die, unleashing a shockwave of pure golden energy. This sheer force of the blow just obliterates the landscape in a wave of destruction. It even tears a clean hole straight through a nearby castle tower. Talk about property damage. Our boy gets launched across the entire region, flying over a forest with a giant skull. Looking down, we see the massive, spiraling crater her punch left in the ground. She admits his special sword is the only thing that kept him from being turned into paste. But she is pretty sure he is dead anyway, refusing to believe anyone could survive that hit. Wrong again, Glan is just casually using a healing art while plummeting through the sky. He makes a three-point landing on the giant skull, cracking the bone with the impact. High above the massive landmark, little bits of debris start to fall from the sky. A sphere of crackling purple energy begins to form, gathering immense power for his next move. Glan channels everything he has into the Anxi blade, preparing a legendary technique. This demon chief looks up in horror, recognizing the Skyfall sword technique's second form, and he brings it down, a bolt of phantom thunder that drills right through the giant skull. From the dust, the demon chief roars in some new fluffy form, absolutely livid at his audacity. Our boy brings down the full force of his Phantom Thunder technique from the heavens, which connects in a cataclysmic explosion of purple energy and shattered space. This blast tears a hole straight through the castle tower, just adding to the property damage, leaving the entire structure a crumbling, silent ruin under a single beam of light. Amidst the wreckage, Glan stands as the lone survivor, looking like he just won. He strikes a pose, looking completely unscathed after dropping a nuke on her. But there is a flicker of surprise in his eyes. Maybe it is not over yet. And of course it is not, as she emerges from the smoke, admitting his sword almost got her. She even gives him a backhanded compliment, saying he is the first to push her this far. Then she busts out her trump card, the Undying Battle Banner, a massive glowing seal. This thing apparently absorbs and redirects all incoming attacks, so he should feel honored, obviously. Glan's face drops because he knows exactly how screwed he is against that banner. Suddenly, a small, feral-looking girl with massive pink energy claws appears on the scene, and she immediately lunges, screaming that she is sending him straight to hell. But Glan just stares in shock and calls her Fae, which leaves the kid totally confused. Meanwhile, the original demon chief looks down, seemingly conflicted by this whole situation. Glan touches his bandages, revealing a Roman III tattoo on his neck, a clue to his past maybe. Elsewhere, a new party of heroes is on their way to meet a legendary demon slayer named Jelong. One of them spots a mountain with its top sheared off, wondering how it got so round. Great work, demon chief. This hero's journey is interrupted by that round mountain starting to rumble. Turns out that is not a mountain, it is a giant rock monster with some very angry red eyes. This absolute unit of a troll rises up and the party suddenly feels very, very small. But the poor thing is just screaming in agony, clutching its head like it has a killer migraine. It is even wondering why its head is so pointy now, a question with a very violent answer. One of the heroes immediately recognizes the cause, the legendary Skyfall sword technique, first form. A brilliant beam of sword energy slams down, revealing the cause of all this chaos. It drilled a clean hole right through the troll's skull, which is not great for its long-term health. This giant's rocky body starts to crumble, its reign as a piece of scenery coming to an end. Its entire form just cracks apart, turning into a massive, deadly rockslide for our new crew. Luckily, the masked woman in their party steps up, conjuring a protective golden light. She throws up a massive energy shield, saving them all from being crushed by troll bits. A giant arm smashes into the ground right beside them, a little too close for comfort. Finally, the troll's decapitated head rolls to a stop, looking like a very sad, very dead boulder. This view from its mouth shows the party standing firm, having survived the world's worst avalanche. These four heroes stand their ground, ready for whatever comes next after that chaotic introduction. On top of the troll's bloody head, a new challenger has apparently appeared. It is Jelong, the demon slayer they were looking for, drenched in blood and holding a severed arm. Through a blood-soaked gaze, he asks if these are the helpers he was promised. This blonde hero tries to de-escalate, reminding him they are all on the same side against the demon emperor. Jelong, looking like he just bathed in blood, says it is better for everyone if they just stay separate. He then promptly collapses against a wall, leaving a fresh smear of gore for the cleaning crew. In a symbolic shot, he and the blonde hero stand apart, with Jelong calling deep feelings a liability. Back in the present, he glares up defiantly at a massive, fully armored knight from their party. This absolute unit of a man calmly says he does not agree with Jelong's whole no-friends policy. Completely unimpressed, Jelong basically tells him his opinion is irrelevant. What a charmer. With that settled, he just turns and walks away, leaving a trail of blood in his wake. This blonde hero tries to apologize for his personality, but the knight says to just let him be edgy. He then clarifies that they probably will not be grabbing drinks anytime soon, so no friendship bracelets needed. Meanwhile, back with Glan, a purple-haired woman spots him in the wreckage, barely believing her eyes. Our boy just gives a cool yeah, confirming he is, in fact, not a ghost. Overcome with relief, she immediately launches herself at him, thrilled that he is alive. This reunion gets pretty intense as she wraps herself around him in a desperate hug. As she sobs on his shoulder, he asks why she is crying, noting she is not like she used to be. She explains through tears that she never, ever expected to see an old comrade again. Glan's face falls as he apologizes, blaming himself for all the suffering they went through. Suddenly, a couple of demon guards burst in, yelling for their chief and demanding to know what is up. They find their leader standing alone under a single, very dramatic beam of light. This guards gossip about her smashing through floors, calling it a release of pent-up emotions before she kicks them out. One warns the other not to listen, while musing that for someone so tough to cry, it must have really hurt. In a quiet moment, Jelong uses a glowing green spell to heal his old comrade's leg. While he works, she asks if he's been carrying the weight of guilt from their past all this time. She cuts him off, saying his self-pity is just annoying, and he fires back, calling her a nag. As she cries out from the pain, he dryly reminds her she broke a dozen of his asterisk bones first. After the impromptu first aid session, they settle down for a surprisingly domestic fruit platter break. She explains she has been a reincarnated demon for 2 years and even found her sister Fea. This leads Jelong to the only logical conclusion his brain can handle: his old friend gender-swapped. He just bluntly asks how she became a female demon, completely baffled by the whole situation, and she gives him a look that just screams, "You cannot possibly be this dense." Then she drops the bombshell with a smirk. "She was always a woman, you absolute moron." Jelong's entire reality just implodes, his brain completely short-circuiting from this revelation. He is left utterly speechless, just staring into space like his operating system needs a reboot. She is legitimately offended, asking how he could know her for 3 years and think she was a dude. A flashback to her bulky armor days explains the mix-up, but Jelong is still dying of embarrassment. He desperately asks if anyone else knew, and she confirms that yes, everyone but him was in on it. When he asks why she never said anything, she just throws it back. Why did not he ever ask? His brilliant defense is that he thought her name was a military rank, a truly galaxy brain moment. Their attention then shifts to a sleeping child nearby, the granddaughter of a local swordsmith. This woman walks over to a barrel where several small, carved wooden figures are arranged. After a quick count, her expression turns serious as she realizes one of the figures is missing. This purple-haired woman turns away, a tense silence hanging over the wreckage. She crushes one of the wooden carvings, asking why he insists on hating himself so much. Jelong just says it is a reminder to himself to do better in the future. With a newfound resolve, he vows to protect everyone and finally eradicate all evil. His old comrade just bursts out laughing, completely unmoved by his big hero speech. She scoffs at the idea that he could possibly accomplish all that by himself, but then she smirks, saying she is more than happy to join in on the bad guy bashing. In a powerful clasp, they seal their renewed partnership with an intense handshake. This shot lingers on their joined hands, a symbol of their reforged alliance. This camera then pans back to the barrel where the other carvings still stand, showing the 4 remaining members of their old squad a silent wooden memorial. Later, she reveals she's been secretly assassinating demon prodigies to maintain her power. It is a tough job, especially since the new demon king is a cruel, mysterious tyrant. She also admits her new demon body has some dark, primal instincts that worry her, and Jelong agrees, confessing that his own demon nature has changed him a bit too. She immediately asks how, leaning in with genuine curiosity and concern. He says he has gotten milder and has fewer creative ways to murder his enemies, a truly tragic development. Their chat is interrupted by the swordsmith's granddaughter asking who this new lady is. This demon chief immediately melts, pinching the kid's cheeks and gushing over how cute she is. Jelong explains this is Fea, another reincarnated demon, as her new friend questions his terrible fashion sense. This demon chief offers up her basement as a new hideout, because nothing says cozy like a subterranean lair. So the whole crew heads down into the glowing green cavern, Jelong dutifully carrying the bags. Inside, she is seriously impressed by the massive intel chart he has assembled over the last 2 years. This thing is a straight-up hit list of demon kings, with a whole lot of names already crossed out. Suddenly, Jelong snaps at her, telling her not to treat him like some kind of doll. And it is because she gave Fea a makeover, putting her in a cute but hilariously impractical new outfit. While the chief boasts about her royal-tier craftsmanship, Jelong just remembers her weaving grass skirts back in the day. Fea checks herself out in a fancy mirror as the chief defends the look, calling it a chic island vibe. Next, she tries to accessorize Jelong, who has to dodge flying books and potted plants to escape. He eventually gives in, looking surprisingly okay with his new hair tie. Resistance was clearly futile. Then his attention shifts to a glowing blue conch shell, which he calls the Call of the Soul Sea. She immediately recognizes it as a powerful artifact from a republic that fell 300 years ago, not just some random trinket. A handy diagram explains its power. It lets you dive into someone's soul and watch their memories like a movie. Jelong dryly notes that it sounds an awful lot like peeking at someone else's secrets. She proposes they use it to revisit the moment of their deaths, flashing back to their brutal final moments. Back then, she felt something was off but was, a little too busy dying to investigate. So now she asks him to enter her soul and find out if that moment is what triggered their reincarnation. Jelong agrees without a second thought, which for some reason makes her incredibly flustered and embarrassed. But she quickly gets her game face on, declaring with full intensity that they are doing this. He praises her reliability and says to attach the other half, leaving her totally confused. The other half of what exactly? He dryly explains the conch needs both halves to work while she admits the other part is just gone. It is super embarrassing, but she confesses a local demon bandit gang stole it during a recent raid. Jelong asks why a demon chief did not just take it back, but she claims she's terrible at tracking people. With a withering glare, he reminds her that he taught her stealth for years and she is still awful at it. He even calls out her past assassination attempts, saying her clumsy stalking was obvious to everyone. She bursts into tears, promising to practice, and he just yells at her to start immediately, not later. Cut to the bandit camp, a cozy little setup tucked away in a remote canyon. These guys are kicking back by the fire, celebrating all the loot they have been grabbing from undefended lands. Their leader preaches his philosophy from a makeshift throne. Even the smallest score is still a win. This eye-patch-wearing boss has big plans, hoping to build up enough strength to take on an evil dragon. Just then, 2 of his guys haul in a couple of heavy crates they say are tribute from a serpent's nest. They set the mysterious, locked-up crates down right in the middle of their camp. In a visual gag, we see Jelong's plan is basically a Trojan horse, letting the bandits lead them to the prize. Meanwhile, 2 of the actual bandits debate strategy, with one wanting to attack their enemies now. This other, more cautious one worries someone might escape with their precious soul sea conch in the chaos. So they agree to observe first, also hoping to steal some human weapons to fight that dragon. One of the larger bandits decides to take a load off, planting himself right on top of a new crate. He is busy plotting when the wood beneath him starts to crack under the strain. This crate suddenly explodes into splinters, sending the guy flying with a shocked "what the hell?" He looks up from the mess to see a pale person inside, and his brain just short-circuits, asking if it is empty. Inside the crate, Fea taps into her serpent bloodline, transforming for their grand entrance. Peeking out with her snake familiar, she whispers for it to check out the scene. From their hiding spot, the entire bandit camp looks completely oblivious, just vibing by the fire. Their eye patch-wearing boss proudly shows off the stolen conch, planning to trade it for weapons. But his companion casually mentions that Black Market was recently wiped out, wonder who did that. Suddenly, the boss feels a dark presence, turning to see a shadowy Jelong right behind him. With the conch located, Jelong gives Fea the green light to just wreck everyone else. She immediately explodes out of her crate, delivering a brutal punch to the nearest goon. Holding another by the throat, she is furious they ate all the good food, a truly heinous crime. Her rage culminates in a single, devastating punch that caves the guy's stomach right in. Standing over the carnage, Fea faces down the rest of the charging bandits without even flinching. This bandit leader furiously blames his female companion for leading these bone crushers to them. In a classic villain move, he turns on his own partner, who is still holding the prize. He then tries the damsel in distress act on Jelong, begging to be saved from his torturer. This brilliant strategy gets him sliced clean in half before he can even finish his plea. His former partner, now with blade legs, calls him disgraceful, admitting she was tired of him anyway. She then turns to Jelong, dangling the conch half and asking if the handsome hero wants it. Her offer is just incredible, beat her and she will be his boy toy, a truly tempting proposition. Jelong's response is to transform into a purple blur and just snatch the thing instantly. This remaining bandits can only stare in disbelief as their boss gets one-shotted by some random kid. Jelong schools Fea on her fighting style, calling out her predictable attack or defend habits. He points out her talent seal can actually blend offense and defense perfectly. To teach her, he summons a glowing green snake, ready to share some academic techniques. This snake then bites her, injecting his seal power directly into her system. Surrounded by enemies, she is told to just feel the new energy flow through her body. It is a super fast demonstration and basically sink or swim from here on out. And she immediately gets it, manifesting a massive golden shield and spear combo. Looking impressed, he smugly asks if learning something new is really so bad. With the conch retrieved, Jelong calls her a conservative and says it is time to go. Meanwhile, the swordsmith's granddaughter is having the nap of her life, complete with a frog hat. Back at the hideout, Jelong explains the conch is a one-use item for viewing their final moments. His old comrade just tells him not to worry, her expression dead serious. Holding the artifact, he tells her to get ready for the soul dive. This conch activates, unleashing a massive vortex of spiritual energy. Our boy finds himself standing in a misty, ethereal landscape, her inner world. He gives her a cryptic warning not to look at things she's not supposed to see. She scoffs from her own spot in the void, wondering what secrets he could possibly have. Then a gigantic, impaled statue erupts from the water, which is just a tad unsettling. Its face is a twisted, pained mess, not exactly a welcoming sight in someone's soul. She recognizes it as the god of mercy, sarcastically noting how merciful Jelong is in real life. She is shocked to see his soul form here, but he just says, "My soul, my rules," and tells her to wait. Suddenly, they are thrown into a chaotic vision of a cataclysmic battle, a memory of their final moments. With a grim look, she tells him to proceed into the memory. So she steps forward into the glowing red light, ready to face her own death again. This memory flashes to a brutal battlefield, with a warrior getting cut down by a golden slash. But wait, she realizes this is not her memory at all. It is what happened to Jelong after she died. In the vision, his past self is sent plummeting into a dark abyss, completely overwhelmed. She watches in horror as he is impaled by a shadowy power, totally cornered and defeated. His only option was a desperate backup plan, using someone else's authority to survive. This plan's name is just fantastic: Cruel Samsara Body Snatching, a last-ditch reincarnation jutsu. It is a technique that shoves his soul into a new demon body, ensuring his great cause can continue. But the reincarnation seal shatters before it can fully form, a critical failure at the last second. His soul was apparently drawn to her, latching on as his only hope for survival. This memory then shifts to her own death, her past self lying lifeless in a sea of red. Because the ritual was interrupted, the consequences are a total mystery. But it was just enough to let the user keep on living as a sinister grin fills the void. And then the horrible truth hits her. The demon emperor, their greatest enemy, also reincarnated. With that bombshell dropped, the memory shatters into a million pieces around her. She finds herself in a twisted hellscape, realizing she is still in Jelong's soul and needs to get out now. This kid's inner world is a straight-up nightmare cathedral of hanging bodies and skulls, so you know he is fine. A voice claiming to be Jelong calls out to Fea, offering her a way out of his nightmarish soul. Across the blood-red landscape, a tiny, shadowy version of him confirms it is his voice. But the real Jelong screams at her not to listen, insisting that thing is an imposter. A monstrous shadow beast erupts from the ground, trapping her at its peak with a horrifying grin. This soul leader opens a spiraling maw of teeth, preparing to swallow her whole. As the entire vision shatters, she is caught right in the middle of the collapsing nightmare. Jelong's true soul form appears, yelling at her to stop spacing out and get out of his head immediately. With a powerful tug, he forcibly yanks her consciousness right out of the soul dive. Back in the real world, she is completely shaken, demanding to know what that thing was. He just brushes it off, saying he will explain later and asking if she found any useful intel. Jelong explains the demon emperor's terrifying power. He assimilates the authority of whoever kills him. This very thought of that guy has him clenching his fist, the memory still raw. Fea insists they have to find the reincarnated emperor and control him before he destroys the world again. Then we get a full-on conspiracy chart breaking down the entire demon lineage and power structure. With the world-ending threat established, she suddenly remembers one more little thing. Jelong immediately cuts in, asking where the swordsmith's granddaughter Sovka went. Fea gets super awkward, admitting that in all the chaos she kinda lost track of the kid. Just then, Sovka pops up demanding food, and Fea desperately tries to use it as a distraction. Jelong is having none of it, telling her there is no need to change the subject. He stares her down, coldly stating that just telling the truth would be fine for once. Fea looks down with a heavy heart, trying to find the right words to explain their situation to Sovka. With Jelong watching from a distance, she struggles to admit the grim truth to the kid. Cut to a couple of new adventurers, a guy and a girl, proudly showing off their ridiculously huge fish. They sneak through the woods, spotting two people having a quiet moment by a distant campfire. But a giant knight in full plate armor stops them, warning them not to interrupt the pair. This knight calls the guy by the fire a married man, and the adventurer quips that explains the divorce. Back at their own camp, a blindfolded companion asks Jelong about the missing number on his eye. This person explains a count appears on their face whenever they kill someone against their will. And that mark of guilt only vanishes when they finally experience true happiness again. This blonde adventurer from before tells the blindfolded one they must feel at home, reunited with Jelong. This blindfolded friend then comments on how quickly Fea and the big knight have bonded. They also gush about how Sovka's presence just makes everything better, a real ray of sunshine. Then their attention turns, ominously addressing one last person in the group. And of course, it is Jelong, who gets a very pointed and serious look. Fea quietly tells Jelong that Sovka's destiny might be different from their own bloody path. He just accepts it with cold resolve, calling it another blood debt to be settled. Staring at his conspiracy chart, Jelong points directly at the Demon Emperor's face. With a declaration of vengeance, he smashes his fist right through the drawing, so much for that security deposit. Meanwhile, a border village is a complete slaughterhouse, with a warrior carving a circle of death. A flexing centaur demon brags about his training regimen because gains weight for no apocalypse. A dying father comforts his daughter, clinging to the hope that her mom will return to save them. That flexing centaur demon is just loving this, screaming that he is speeding up the slaughter. In his final moments, the man is hoisted up on a rope, screaming while still clutching his child. Suddenly, a mysterious woman appears, lamenting that her first sight upon waking is human suffering. This man's eyes just widen in sheer terror, seeing this new arrival in the middle of the chaos. But the centaur gets abruptly yanked to a halt by a rope around his waist. He is completely baffled, having no idea who just put the brakes on his murder spree. And of course, it is the white-haired woman holding the leash with an almost bored expression. This whole demon squad turns to face her, looking less than pleased about the party crashing. She then whispers to the dying father that she is sorry for being too late to stop his pain. Her apology is to just straight up execute him, saying it is the only way to express her condolences. And there it is, this is the reincarnated demon emperor Sumurilis offering her sweetest apologies. This little girl is left standing alone over her father's body, now an orphan in a hellscape. All the other demons immediately close in on the kid, probably not for a friendly chat. But the emperor scolds her own creations, asking why they have become so depraved. She claims she wanted them to exterminate lives, not enjoy it, a very important distinction apparently. Taking pleasure in their work is just a mistake upon mistake, which is rich coming from their boss. Her minions are completely lost, turning on her and telling her to die as she activates her talent seal. This seal unleashes all-punishing extinction, wiping out her entire disobedient army in one go. Standing in the crater, she reflects on how this battle from 5 years ago ended so unexpectedly. This demon emperor recalls Jelong with a chilling fondness, calling him unforgettable. She says assimilating him let her see his inner voice, a glimpse of the monster inside. With a hand to her chest, she laments that he never got to understand her heart in return. Apparently, they could have been best friends if he'd just seen her side of things, a classic villain sob story. This memory then shifts to the little girl's mother, a knight racing through the carnage and blaming herself for being late. She stops dead in her tracks, completely horrified by the absolute devastation around her. And there, amidst the flames, stands the reincarnated emperor in her new, innocent-looking child form. This knight approaches the lone girl, her own daughter, in the middle of this hellscape. Overcome with emotion, she pulls the child into a hug, apologizing for not being there to protect her. Tears stream down her face as she holds her daughter tight, completely oblivious to the danger. But the emperor just stares on with cold detachment, observing the endless suffering. Suddenly, the mother's eyes widen in absolute terror as she finally realizes the truth. And her own daughter drives a sword straight through her, because family reunions are tough. This knight collapses to her knees, impaled by the very person she rushed to save. With her mother now dead on the ground, the emperor has successfully claimed another powerful victim. Her eyes flare, activating the Great Sin Authority to absorb her mother's power. She frames this murder as part of her great cause to save the world, which is a new level of delusion. Back in the present, Jelong tells his comrade they have no leads on the emperor's current location. His ally suggests they seek out Fenling, the silent death demon king, for a potential clue. Jelong agrees, realizing Fea's lie-detecting seal makes her perfect for this. Fenling is their only shot. Jelong's inner conflict flares up, reminding himself of his one true goal while his hand corrupts. That goal is to exterminate the entire demon race, a vow surrounded by some seriously dark energy. Fea snaps him out of his brooding, asking why he is just standing there spacing out. He just plays it cool, claiming he was distracted for a moment, totally convincing. Out in a clearing, Jelong tells the others he is just doing some preventive work. His plan is to summon a legendary vampire knight to leak intel about the emperor to the human side. Sofka freaks out, thinking vampires are just myths, but Fea confirms this one is the real, terrifying deal. To start the ritual, our boy uses his own blood as a catalyst, which is always a great sign. He then activates a massive glowing red summoning circle right in the middle of the woods. 2 hours later, absolutely nothing has happened, and Sofka awkwardly tries to make excuses for the no-show. Fea decides this is a great time for a nap, telling Sofka to wake her if their vampiric Uber ever arrives. This summoning circle just sits there, glowing ominously but remaining stubbornly empty. Now all alone, Sofka starts getting seriously spooked by the whole vampire horror story idea. Her imagination runs wild as she glances around the dark forest, completely terrified. Seeing a normal bat fly by, she lets out a sigh of relief, thinking she was just overreacting, only for a gigantic, blood-soaked spike to appear inches from her face because of course. This kid lets out a world-class shriek, her hair literally standing on end from sheer terror. Scrambling backwards, she begs for help as a monstrous armored being towers over her. And there he is, the vampire knight, looking less like Dracula and more like a walking torture device. Jelong calmly tells the bloody monstrosity he was not summoned just to traumatize the child for fun. With a spectral glare, Jelong tells the knight to get serious for the terrified kid. This vampire knight notes that the only person who could summon him is long dead. So he demands to know how Jelong learned the ritual, activating his source of pain blood seal. Suddenly, Fea blazes into the scene and Jelong correctly guesses their guest is not in a good mood. Our vampiric guest gives him a choice, confess willingly or be invited to answer real polite. With a glowing red blade at his throat, Jelong critiques his word choice like a smug professor. His tone shifts completely, calling the knight a massive disappointment in every other way. This completely throws the knight for a loop, who just stares in disbelief. A giant ghostly projection of Jelong towers over him, declaring that his student V. Helen still fails. This night, V. Helen staggers back, finally putting the pieces together in absolute shock. In a flashback, a younger, white-haired V. Helen looks up to his teacher, Professor Jelong. This memory shifts to a fancy-looking academy where this all went down. In this memory, a young V. Helen is being brutally held down, begging his tormentor not to burn him. This bully, an absolute gem named Mulder Lawrence, holds a glowing hot iron and asks why not. Through tears, V. Helen pleads that his mother will see the mark if he is branded. This little monster then gets all thoughtful, talking about how normal families care for each other. And then he just snaps, screaming, "What has that got to do with me?" as he brings the hot iron down. With a truly unhinged grin, he declares it is the other hand's turn for a little branding. And he presses the glowing brand right onto the kid's other hand, just pure sadism. But just as he is about to continue, a hand grabs his wrist. It is Jelong, and he does not look amused. Jelong gives the bully a very simple warning: next time he is getting shoveled home to mommy and daddy. This bully, Mulder, just scoffs, calling Jelong a jobless nobody and asking who he thinks he is. And for his trouble, he and his cronies get a complimentary high-speed exit through the nearest window. Jelong just strolls off like nothing happened, leaving a stunned V. Helen to stare after his savior. This kid tries to call out, wanting to thank him for the sudden intervention, but our boy just keeps walking, parting the crowd of students without a single glance back. V. Helen can only watch as his hero vanishes, the words of gratitude stuck in his throat. He just leans against the door, completely overwhelmed by the professor's silent protection. Later, V. Helen and some other students are gawking at a packed lecture hall, absolutely stunned by the crowd. Turns out the guest speaker is a legendary demon-slaying maniac, so yeah, tickets are a hot item. Inside, Jelong commands the attention of a massive auditorium filled with aspiring heroes. This students peeking through the window are even spotting royalty in the audience. They gossip about how Jelong already yeeted a prince out for being an entitled brat, because of course he did. V. Helen wanders off, feeling powerless to repay such a huge debt, when a strange vine sneaks up on him. Suddenly, he is completely wrapped up and helpless, ambushed out of nowhere. Of course, it is Mulder and his gang, using plant magic to demand V. Helen help them capture Jelong. Hanging upside down in thorny vines, V. Helen gives a very concise, one-finger salute to that terrible idea. Mulder just grins, promising to enjoy crushing every bone in his body while his friends plan the burial. Despite the agony, V. Helen's only thought is protecting the professor from these psychos. With no other choice, he resolves to unleash his own talent seal to break free. V. Helen panics, realizing he was too afraid to practice his talent seal and now has no idea how to use it. Crushed by the vines and unable to breathe, he starts to wonder if this is the end for him. Mulder dangles him upside down, mockingly calling the kid a tough guy for holding out so long. But V. Helen's only thought is to warn Jelong that Mulder and his goons are coming for him. Jelong just glances up, calmly stating that the other two bullies will be coming down soon. And right on cue, Mulder's cronies get a complimentary high-speed trip back to Earth, screaming all the way. They impact the ground with a very messy, very final-sounding splat. As V. Helen stares in horror, Jelong coldly remarks that their parents will need shovels to get them home. Jelong then gives him some sage advice. If his power is scary, then it should be the enemy's nightmare. Totally overwhelmed, V. Helen runs after his professor, trying to find the words to thank him. But Jelong is way more interested in what is for dinner, asking about fruit pies as they walk back to the academy. Back in the present, Jelong gives V. Helen his marching orders, warn the human nations about the Demon Emperor's movements. Fea explains to Sofka that the two people they must protect are humanity's greatest powerhouses. We get a quick intro to Emperor Hoya and Rainstorm Yuha, the two great walls of humanity. V. Helen accepts the mission, noting with respect that Jelong is the only person who has ever defeated him in a fight. With a hand on his shoulder, Jelong stresses that every second they waste gives the Emperor another advantage. Vowing not to fail, Vihelen unleashes his power, sprouting massive red energy blades from his back, and with a sonic boom, he launches into the sky like a terrifying armor-plated rocket. Sovka gives a cute little wave, calling him a mosquito, while Jelong just complains about the guy's fashion sense. This next day, Jelong lays out their next steps, find the Silent Death Demon King, and also buy some quality pottery jars. A flashback reveals the Demon Emperor's plan for Jelong, dismemberment and eternal torment in a jar. She even plans to keep him alive as a maggot for generations, calling him lucky he is not evil, which is rich. Meanwhile, in a demon camp, two grunts gossip about a challenger who fought their chief to a draw. One of them boasts he could easily take the throne himself, right before his buddy warns him someone's coming. This entire crowd of demons parts in absolute terror, clearing a path for the approaching person. Looking up, the braggart sees Jelong and immediately realizes he has picked the wrong day to talk tough. His mind races, wondering if it is too late to beg for mercy as a hand reaches for his face. In the reflection of his terrified eye, Jelong's hand closes in with unstoppable speed. A moment later, Jelong is on the guy's horse, leaving the former owner stunned on the ground. It turns out our boy is undercover, with the demons hailing him as Lord Desert Tooth. But then the real Desert Tooth arrives, a flamboyant vampire-looking guy who clearly missed the memo on subtlety. This new guy immediately starts planning a surprise send-off for the chief, which sounds suspiciously like a coup. Jelong internally notes this sycophant could blow his cover if he is not careful. This grunts from before complain about Desert Tooth's weakness, but know they cannot defy him. Overhearing them, Desert Tooth puts the loudmouth on permanent messenger duty just to be a jerk. Jelong's cold calculus continues, seeing the current demon chief as a useful pawn to weaken her own race. An old crone then confronts Jelong, complaining that all this fanfare goes against the chief's frugal policies. She gets right in his face, spitting insults and asking if he is trying to teach her how to do her job. Then the real Desert Tooth steps in, demanding to know why Jelong did not bow to him. His generous offer is simple, kowtow and be forgiven, but Jelong looks like he is about to laugh. Desert Tooth stops the proceedings, worried Jelong might hurt his head on the hard ground. What a considerate bully. So he has a minion shovel up a literal pile of dirt to serve as a kneeling cushion, peak passive aggression. With the stage perfectly set, he gives his final gleeful command for Jelong to kowtow. All the local demons are just loving this, absolutely buzzing for the public shaming to begin. This vampire gets right in Jelong's face, threatening to tattle to the chief if he does not obey. But Jelong just calls him a clueless frog in a well, saying the chief would vaporize him for his ignorance. This throws the guy for a loop, who then resorts to asking if Jelong is too scared to speak. And he grabs our boy, ready to personally introduce his face to the freshly shoveled dirt, only to get absolutely launched across the clearing by a force he never saw coming. He lands perfectly, headfirst, right in the pile of filth he had prepared for Jelong. Covered in muck and screaming in pure rage, his grand plan ends in a literal mud pie. Just then the demon chief arrives, asking Desert Tooth, meaning Jelong, what is going on. This real one scrambles up, immediately trying to snitch on Jelong for defying his orders. He points a shaky finger, absolutely certain our boy is about to be executed. Instead, the chief's massive drill spear slams down, pinning the vampire's leg to the ground, leaving the real Desert Tooth completely stunned, asking his boss why she just did that. She looms over him with a simple warning, one more word and he will need a coffin. Then she tells him that from now on, he has to kneel whenever he sees Jelong, who finds this a bit excessive. This other demons quickly put it together, realizing this guy is not just strong, he is a VIP from the top brass. And the real Desert Tooth is left to contemplate how he just ruined his entire career by picking on the wrong guy. This real Desert Tooth is left to contemplate his new career path, groveling to atone for his crimes. Meanwhile, Fea lays out their only plan, get the Silent Death Demon King on their side since she hates the Emperor. With their mission set, the horses let out a mighty neigh as they prepare to ride out, and our crew gallops toward the territory of Fenling, master of the Silent Death Royal Court. Elsewhere in the capital of the Eternal Royal Court, a massive, creepy fortress floats among the clouds. Inside, a voice declares the first step of the demon race's reform is complete, which sounds incredibly ominous. This is Eternal Demon King Zhu, and he is monologuing about how giving demons emotions is the cornerstone of civilization. His next big idea for this corporate retreat from hell is to introduce faith by making everyone worship a demon god emperor. Campaigning Demon King Agricola is all for it, noting that martyrs are great for propaganda. What a cheerful guy. This cruel Demon King Udrap, a man of few words and probably many sharp objects, has no objections, and desolate Demon King Manatun just says his son Zhu already has his support, so it is a family affair. But the Silent Death Demon King Fenling is having none of it, basically asking why she was invited to this buzzkill meeting. On his throne, Zhu tries to placate her, saying he will not force her to abandon the old ways just yet. He insists that one day she will see that wiping out humanity is not his actual goal. It is just a necessary step in his grand plan to reform the entire world, which is so much better. Fenling's response is a masterclass in diplomacy. She just says excuse me and gets up to leave. As she walks out, Zhu just tells the remaining sycophants to continue the meeting. Her opinion is noted and ignored. Back with our heroes, their horses are kicking up dust, racing across the plains. They are now entering the desolate no-man's land of the cruel royal court. Jelong leads the charge, riding hard to reach the one demon king who might actually help them. Meanwhile, Vihelen is a literal red blur, flying for days on end to deliver his world-ending news. He finally arrives at the wartime capital of Ainea, a massive fortress city floating above the clouds. Inside, a chancellor tells him to chill out with the formal etiquette since the emperor is waiting. Vihelen steels himself to meet Emperor Hoya, a guy who supposedly killed his own family for the crown, and the first thing this legendary tyrant says is a casual question about him being the vampire knight. Emperor Hoya is surprisingly laid back, even mentioning that his son is a huge fan of Vihelen's. He just waves him over to the dinner table because apparently bad news can wait until after a good meal. His advisors are all over this, telling the royal historian to log this sincere moment in the good guy book. Turns out they keep two official records, a white book for good deeds and a black book for all the screw-ups. Hoya jokes that his chancellor lives to fill the black book, completely disarming Vihelen with his chill vibe. While the emperor serves him a bowl of stew, Vihelen tries to cut to the chase about the demon emperor. This emperor just tells him to talk while they eat, then proceeds to inhale his entire meal in seconds flat. After hearing the report, Hoya realizes he and Yuha have to stop killing people to avoid a demonic possession. He explains that Yuha is on a retirement training trip, and he knows down to the day how long he has been gone. With everything settled, Hoya decides to send a secret agent to pass on the message. Right on cue, an aide announces that his top spy from the demon lands is back and needs to report. This emperor then offers to personally walk Vihelen to his room because waking up a servant is too much hassle. As they head out, Vihelen sees the agent, a massive, hulking silhouette that is definitely not human. And yeah, the secret agent is a full-on demon, reporting that he just wiped out a demon squad for them. This demon spy then spots Vihelen and completely loses his mind, asking why a vampire is in the human court. Emperor Hoya decides it is time for a proper meet and greet, a real networking opportunity. He introduces Vihelen to his top royal spy, Limesdorf, who happens to be a giant horned demon. Vihelen is internally baffled, wondering why any demon would willingly serve a human emperor. This demon spy Limesdorf politely informs Vihelen that the emperor has war plans to make, so he will be his escort. Vihelen immediately calls him out, but Limesdorf clarifies this is not loyalty, it is just a job, he is a traitor for cash. His philosophy is simple, in a world at war the strong get paid and he could not care less about race. To prove his point, he holds up 2 gold bars, asking if Vihelen can spot the human one money has no allegiance. Vihelen just scoffs, saying the war between humans and demons is none of his concern anyway. Turns out the demon's grand plan is to save up enough to ditch this continent and retire in luxury. This gives Vihelen pause, musing on the irony of a selfish individual emerging from a race of pure killers. Limesdorf proudly owns his greed, saying at least he is not a hypocrite pretending to be a hero. Then he brings up Jelong, praising him as a selfless hero, but Vihelen cuts him off, sensing a trap. This spy gets to the real question, was Jelong truly that noble or just good at hiding his own desires? He pushes further, suggesting Vihelen's perfect teacher might have had some dark secrets of his own. This moment he implies Jelong deceived him, Vihelen's power starts to flare up around them. With his eyes glowing, Vihelen gives the demon a very simple, very final warning to choose his next words carefully. Limesdorf immediately panics, swearing it was just a hypothesis and that he totally respected the dead Jelong. Vihelen demands to hear the rest, and the terrified spy asks what if Jelong never actually died 5 years ago. Meanwhile, back in no man's land, Jelong's party takes a break as the spy's question hangs in the air. Jelong calculates they have half a month of travel left, noting the eerie lack of even bandits in this desolate wasteland. Fea asks the kid Sira if she has a talent seal, who admits she has never had a chance to test it out. Sira just knows her smithing is supernaturally fast, like she has a secret helper, which is just adorable. So Jelong decides it is time for a lesson, explaining her talent is probably working unconsciously and he can help. He gives the rundown on talent seals, which basically turn your heart into a perpetual energy generator. This basics are simple: mobilize, amplify, release, and shape your power, a 4-step program to awesome. And by release, he means blasting a hole clean through your enemy's chest, a very practical example. Mobilizing power to your eyes gives you supervision or even thermal sight if you have the right bloodline. Then there is amplification to turn your body into stone, or shaping to create a handy force field. He even shows how to shape and release a snake construct, because who does not need a pocket serpent? With the lecture over, he tells Sira to try mobilizing her power, and she immediately shouts the command out loud. It actually works, her hands start glowing with energy, and Jelong gives her a rare nod of approval. She picks up her hammer and realizes it is way lighter now, absolutely buzzing with excitement. Jelong explains she can also infuse the hammer itself, but the power fades on most external objects. Of course, his own Anxi steel weapon is one of the rare exceptions to that rule, just a casual flex. Next up is defense training, telling her to focus all her power into one hand to make it super tough. He is about to strike her with small force, and she is totally sure he will hold back for her. His comforting words before the strike are, "I will cure your broken hand," peak mentorship right there. This blade comes down with terrifying speed as she braces for impact with her glowing fist. A massive shockwave erupts as she actually manages to block the attack, holding her ground. Her tiny, power-infused fist holds strong against his blade, stopping it completely. Jelong is genuinely surprised as her little energy blobs start climbing right up his sword. He comments that humans always find their true potential in a crisis, and she is living proof. Sira's all fired up, asking what is next, while Jelong has to take a second to remember the instructions for her power type. He immediately crosses amplification off the list, warning it could literally give her a heart attack. Safety first. She tries the release command and one of her little golden dudes just gently floats off her hand. This little guy drifts over and lands right on Feia's gauntlet, who seems pretty entertained by the whole display. Feia tells her to use her imagination to shape the power, and suddenly a whole squad has built a tiny castle on her arm. With a bit more focus, her little energy army sprouts glowing bows and quivers, ready for a very tiny war. Feia suggests pumping in more power to see if they become automated, officially ending the tutorial level. Sira is completely captivated by her new mini-fortress, staring at it with total concentration. Jelong adds that with her blacksmithing skills, she was bound to unlock an acquired seal through pure effort anyway. All of a sudden, her little golden sentries start panicking, pointing at something in the distance and shouting about birds. That immediately puts Jelong on high alert, and he orders them to kill the campfire. They have got company. Far below in the canyon, 3 cloaked figures are trekking through the desolate landscape. One of the travelers, a guy with wolf ears, gets scolded by his captain for using his rank and blowing their cover. They are carrying a stretcher with an unconscious green-haired woman, admitting they are screwed if they get caught. Watching from a ridge, Feia wonders what rich family is trekking through this bandit-infested no-man's land. But Jelong recognizes the woman on the stretcher. It is Princess Yvette, the most ambitious of Hoya's adopted kids. Feia's shocked he knows her, but he just says he is familiar with the political scene, leaving the bigger questions hanging. Down below, the captain is blaming his 2 subordinates for the mission failing, all while Jelong's snake constructs spies on them. This captain whines that his family paid a fortune for him to get close to the princess, not die in a desert. Now he is stuck in this wasteland, wondering where his career went so horribly wrong. Jelong's snake spy chimes in, asking if they are still looking for his master's severed arm. Up on the ridge, Jelong and Feia watch the whole pathetic display unfold. Feia asks if they are really planning to use his old arm to evolve, and Jelong confirms they need that power. This triggers a quick flashback to a much darker time, with Jelong covered in snakes and looking very not alive. Down below, the captain calls his subordinates trash for failing to get proper intel on a great demon. His subordinate fires back that the intel on Jelong's arm came from Limesdorf, the same spy V. Helen just met. These 2 underlings are about to throw down, blaming each other for the mission's collapse. Their captain just cuts them off, demanding they hand over the stretcher. He decides to carry the princess himself, pulling the I am the captain card. Then he gives a big speech about how Ainea Knights never give up, a real inspiration to his crew. He insists there is water ahead, and when questioned, his only proof is because I said so, flawless logic. Right on cue, Princess Yvette starts coughing up blood, which really kills the motivational vibe. Her escorts completely lose it, shouting her name in a panic. And yeah, she looks pretty bad, unconscious and bleeding out on the stretcher. This captain screams at the little horned girl to use a healing spell like right now. But she is all out of mana from a previous fight, crying that she cannot do anything to help. Just as all hope seems lost, one of the guards spots 2 people approaching them, and it is Jelong and Feia strolling in like they own the place to crash this disaster of a party. This captain's wolf-eared subordinate sounds the alarm, screaming that they have run into demons. But these newcomers claim to be a peace faction, with their leader casually catching an arrow mid-flight. He offers a deal to the panicked knights, showing off a hand glowing with powerful healing magic. This price for saving their princess is simple: tell him everything they know about Jelong's severed arm. His hand pulses with an intense green light, making it clear this is some top-tier magic. This captain is sweating buckets, clearly torn between his mission and saving the princess's life. Finally caving, he tells the demon to go ahead and heal her, officially accepting the deal. While casting the spell, the demon notes that whatever injured her must be an incredibly powerful great demon. Princess Yvette coughs up a nasty spray of blood, which is not exactly a great sign for the healing process. This sends the captain into a rage, grabbing the demon and demanding to know what he is doing, a true professional. This demon just gives him a deadpan stare and tells him he is being too noisy, zero patience for this guy. He then calmly explains that she is recovered and just needs to rest, so maybe chill out. And just like that, Princess Yvette sits up, looking completely fine as her subordinates call out her name. This little horned girl is in total awe, saying his healing is on par with a demon king's. Immediately, the captain starts chewing out his subordinate for being aggressive, while the other guy calls out his hypocrisy. Yvette stands and thanks the demons, observing that they are surprisingly articulate compared to others of their kind. With the healing done, the demon says it is time for them to uphold their end of the bargain. He wants exactly what was discussed, that severed arm. This demon then says that is not possible, telling the princess to get the full story from her own man. Cornered, the captain tries to weasel out of it, claiming he cannot talk because it is a matter of humanity. Princess Yvette tries to negotiate, offering anything but the arm, revealing 2 tiny snake bites on her neck. In a flash, she realizes the so-called healing was actually him planting a deadly poison in her system. So Jelong gives them a choice: tell him where his arm is or watch their precious princess die from his poison. Her captain, a tactical mastermind, insists Jelong is just bluffing and the poison is only making her a little weak. Then Jelong twists the knife, reminding the captain how badly Emperor Hoya will react to his daughter's death. Jelong and Feia start to walk off, calling their bluff, and the captain immediately folds, screaming for them to wait. But the princess tries to hold her ground, claiming she will recover and that he is the one who should be worried. Feia dryly notes that her subordinates will just see this as stubbornness, not a sign she is actually in control. And just like that, the captain caves, blurting out that the arm is with the great warlord Jer. This Jer, he explains, is a former top dog for the first Demon King, now just a powerful bandit. Their whole mission was to grab the arm from this guy to boost national morale, a total PR move. Except Jer had already fused with the arm, got a huge power boost, and absolutely wrecked their party. Jelong gets the last bit of intel he needs. Jer is currently hiding out in the ruins of Mud Cow Town. Having spilled all the kingdom's secrets, the captain begs Jelong to finally cure the princess. Instead, Feiya grabs his leg because, surprise, the deal was never real to begin with. A massive shadow blade comes crashing down, and Feiya yanks the screaming captain out of the way just in time. Princess Yvette, now perfectly fine, tells her captain, Lilo, to put his sword away, saying the poison was trivial. Lilo immediately drops to his knees, apologizing for trying to be smart and getting them into this mess. Meanwhile, his two subordinates are freaking out, convinced they are all about to be court-martialed for this disaster. Yvette just orders him to stand up, looking thoroughly unimpressed by his pathetic display. Yvette immediately steps up, telling Lilo the fault is hers for not explaining the mission properly, a real class act. She tells them to forget Jelong's arm for now and focus on a solid plan to defeat Jer, trying to rally her exhausted crew. But just as they are about to rest, the horned girl spots company and screams that enemies are approaching. A tattered banner crests the dune, looking like it belongs to a particularly unpleasant group of locals. Without hesitation, Yvette barks orders for a wedge formation, her team snapping into defensive positions. And it is a good thing too, because an entire bandit army is now staring them down from the ridge. This bandit leaders decide Jer only wants their heads, which means they can keep the rest. How generous of them. Yvette analyzes their expert movement, telling her team to just hold the line until her own power recovers. One of the lieutenants, a real charmer, tells his boss he will wear them down first with his special talent. This creepy dude steps forward, glowing with a nasty green aura as he prepares to address the cornered knights. He then hits them with a pop quiz, asking a bizarre riddle about a talking chicken, not the fight they trained for. It is a trap. His talent is Riddle Frog, and failing to answer in 3 seconds will permanently drain their power. Her subordinates are absolutely losing it, terrified of being drained into wrinkly husks by a game show-themed attack. This wolf-eared guy tries to shoot the Riddler, but Yvette stops him, knowing the enemy is way too fast to hit. And she is right, as the Riddler zips around them in a blur, taunting them from multiple directions at once. His big brother, the main bandit leader, is loving this, monologuing about how he is just farming power for his own evolution. With the Riddle wearing them down, the leader finally gives the order for his horde of monsters to charge. Yvette's crew can only watch in horror as the mob descends, completely trapped and defenseless. Out of nowhere, a flash of purple light reveals a mysterious white-haired warrior intervening in the fight. This newcomer unleashes a devastating energy wave, carving a path right through the bandit army in a single, brutal slash. This mysterious warrior just tore through the bandit horde with a single, devastating purple slash. Yvette is completely stunned by the sudden, brutal efficiency of their new savior. He casually calls the massacre a meeting gift, offering an alliance right over the bodies. His proposal is simple. They team up to take down Jer and get Jelong's arm, which he claims is rightfully his. A quick flashback shows his power wiping out another massive army of monsters in a flash of purple light. This power apparently has a very clear goal: to end evil demons with even more evil-looking powers. Turns out this form is an evolution from a serpent's molt, and it is not even at full strength yet. This bandit leader is not scared, ordering his riddle-loving subordinate to trap the newcomer with another question. So Riddle Frog hits him with another brainbuster, this time about fingers and bones, confident his trick will work again. As the countdown starts, the warrior just stands there, completely unbothered by the ticking clock. He gives his answer with total confidence, fourth bone. This Riddler goes nuts, screaming that he is wrong because the answer was Little Finger, a truly high-stakes game show. His power-draining Riddle monster attack lunges forward, ready to turn our boy into a husk. But the warrior activates his thermal vision, tracking the real targets through the sandstorm. Meanwhile, the main bandit leader uses a speed technique to bolt, leaving his brother to handle the dirty work. Instead of getting drained, the warrior blasts a beam of pure energy right down the Riddler's throat. Standing over the mess, he calmly states that if he says it is the fourth bone, then that is the answer, end of discussion. Yvette's crew is justifiably terrified, wondering if they just traded one monster for an even scarier one. From a safe distance, the bandit leader is absolutely thrilled, finding this new challenger fantastic. He powers up his Earth Lord authority, promising to personally peel the warrior's skin for his collection. This bandit leader's fortress looms over a battlefield of bodies, setting a real welcoming mood. From the ramparts, he promises to make our heroes look pretty, a classic villain threat. To kick things off, his goons hurl a massive spear down at the newcomers. It slams into the ground with explosive force, but the white-haired warrior easily dodges the attack. He lands gracefully, now positioned between the bandits and Yvette's terrified crew. Yvette's team is losing it because, oh yeah, the entire castle is now sliding towards them. This mobile fortress technique is basically a moving mountain firing projectiles as it comes. This bandit leader calls for his second brother to join the party, which cannot be good. His forces begin to flank our heroes from 3 sides, leaving them completely trapped. Right on cue, a giant monster leaps from the walls to crush them. This big guy lands and immediately starts complaining that fighting ants is boring. He was promised a dragon. Suddenly, a new green-haired girl with the warriors group takes that ant comment very personally. Her own crew panics, with one guy worried about his allowance while another begs her to use her seal power. This white-haired warrior deactivates his form, telling her it is her turn to handle this. She unleashes her celestial body seal, glowing with power and asking the monster who the real ant is. With a single glowing palm strike, she unleashes a devastating shockwave. This monster gets completely bisected by a massive blade, not even putting up a fight. Her purple-haired subordinate smugly notes that using an enemy as a weapon is a lesson she taught well. As arrows rain down from the fortress, the green-haired princess stands unfazed in the middle of the barrage. She then grabs a massive chunk of debris and hurls it back at them with incredible force. This bisected monster slams into the fortress wall, completely annihilated by the girl's attack. This bandit leader, Jair, is absolutely stunned, not expecting this kind of pushback. A traumatic memory flashes through his mind, a giant, shadowy figure with a glowing sword. His face twists in pure terror, clearly reliving a moment he was completely powerless, and the vision ends with a massive, swirling vortex of energy wiping everything from existence. Back in the present, one of the warriors' crew spots a dragon flying off into the sunset. This green-haired girl walks away from the carnage, leaving a trail of dust and bodies. Her companion explains that is the infamous evil dragon, thankfully not interested in them today. In a quick flashback, she agrees to the white-haired warrior's proposal, her power flaring up. They agree to split Jelong's arm 50-50, though she is already planning to betray him, a model ally. That night, the two very suspicious groups set up separate campfires, keeping their distance. This warrior's subordinates are just enjoying some soup, completely unbothered by the tension. Both teams sit around their fires, clearly sizing each other up for the inevitable double-cross. Yvette tells Lilo to watch their new allies while she goes to talk, and he is desperate to atone. As she approaches, the warrior's team takes notice, with him casually asking about their slave. Back at the other camp, Yvette's men are still grumbling about having to work with demons. Lilo, however, is busy fanboying over a flawless night, vowing to protect his own handsome face from scars. A hooded figure from Yvette's crew sidles up to the horned girl, asking for a taste of her cheese. She immediately clutches it, explaining it is expensive and a gift from her mom, so hands off. Suddenly, Lilo freaks out, screaming at the hooded person for appearing out of nowhere. Lilo finally confronts the hooded person, demanding to know if they are a demon. Great situational awareness, buddy. This newcomer reveals herself as a blue-haired woman with a tail, casually confirming his suspicion. He immediately whips around to the other campfire, asking if this is one of their friends. This green-haired girl's crew just keeps eating their soup, completely unbothered by the sudden drama. But this new demon is not here for dinner, drawing her twin blades with a menacing glow. A quick flash shows her flowing water sword technique, a blur of blue energy and severed limbs. Yeah, her signature move is just lopping off hands, leaving her victims screaming in agony. This purple-haired subordinate instantly recognizes the style, realizing exactly who just crashed their party. This is Merovich, a demon with a nasty reputation and a tail to match. Her flashback ends with her casually walking away from the maimed victims she just crippled. This green-haired girl finally puts her bowl down, looking like she is ready for a real fight. Merovich announces she is here on her master's orders to capture Princess Yvette, so much for a quiet night. And to prove her point, the hooded guy's severed hand now lies next to the cheese he tried to touch. This green-haired girl notes this demon's skill is second only to Jair's and asks her ally for backup. Our boy steps in, trying to play peacemaker and suggesting they all just talk it out first. These two warriors face off in a classic standoff, tensions skyrocketing in the desert night. It is an intense stare-down between his cold fury and her scarred, confident smirk. Merovich recognizes his murderous aura, realizing she has finally found the person she was looking for. She calls him out by name, Jelong, and even recognizes Fea, making a weird comment about her growing up. Fea just deadpans that Jelong and Merovich are basically twins when it comes to judging people, a match made in hell. Merovich lunges with her twin blades, forcing Jelong to yell a warning to Fea. Their powers clash in a flash of purple and blue light, a move designed to lower their guard. She summons a massive, eternal night dragon soul, complaining that this mission is getting complicated. Jelong stands his ground against the spectral beast, telling her to stay out of his way. With her blade at his throat, Merovich rants about a past betrayal that left her in this state. She gets right in his face, mocking his unblemished reputation as a complete joke. And now she's just screaming, blaming him entirely for whatever happened to her. Fea finally jumps in with a glowing shield, telling her extremely calm friend to calm down. Merovich just scoffs at the idea as Fea and Jelong brace for the inevitable fight. Unleashing her flowing water sword technique, she is dead set on just finishing her orders. Fea thinks Merovich has been totally brainwashed by her master, a real company woman. So with her fists glowing, she decides the only cure is to literally beat some sense into her. But Merovich activates a mist mirage, insisting she is perfectly clear-headed. Fea's punch smashes through empty air, leaving her completely off balance. Jelong realizes the mist is a diversion, warning Yvette that she is the real target. To cut through the nonsense, our boy activates his thermal vision to track her. Suddenly, a massive blast of fire intercepts Merovich's attack out of nowhere. A fire-infused cage traps them all, with Yvette's crew already knocked out on the ground. Jelong's thermal vision is useless as the enemy came prepared for it. In response, Fea summons a wall of shields while Jelong lays down a thunderous dragnet trap. Inside the fire cage, one of Yvette's crew is down, her hand bleeding as she fails to cast a healing spell. Suddenly, a massive blue blade slams into the dirt right beside her head. Merovich looms over her, explaining she is just disabling hands, not killing, because she is just that considerate. Meanwhile, Fea's golden shield formation is holding strong against the fiery onslaught. Merovich casually compliments the defense as Lilo finally puts a name to the demon who just crippled his friend. And Lilo, with absolutely zero self-preservation, starts yelling at her for being a stinking demon. He is apparently defending the honor of his idol, a knight who unfortunately shares her name. Talk about bad timing. Merovich decides to lecture him, asking if he knew his hero was only ever the second best knight. She reveals the top spot was reserved for the king's son, because nepotism is a universal language. Then she goes on about how fair the demon race is, where only raw power gets you ahead. To demonstrate, she summons a massive energy dragon, boasting she will become the next emperor. That very same blue dragon immediately dives down to smash our heroes. From above, the whole fiery trap swirls as the beast descends on Feia's golden dome. Inside, Feia points out the opening in the cage, telling Jelong to get ready for their guest. This dragon slams into the top of the barrier, trying to brute force its way through. Feia answers by launching a colossal green energy blade straight up to meet it. Her dragon just scoffs at the counterattack, calling it an insignificant trick. But that was the distraction, as Jelong unleashes his own rapid tooth rush from below. He rockets upwards in his transformed state, a blur of pure purple energy. His attack forms a gigantic purple spire aimed right at the dragon's smug face. Jelong's attack, with a name longer than my last relationship, slams right into the energy dragon. Turns out a masked observer was watching the whole time, shocked that the evil dragon got taken down. Before he can even process it, a massive bolt of purple lightning comes crashing down on his position. Back at camp, Jelong's team is confused by the retreat, but he calmly explains the whole fight was an act. In a quick flashback, we see him telling Merovich to look him in the eye to sell the performance. Then we cut to Lilo's tragic backstory, where a friend asks if getting his cool new scar actually hurt. He is absolutely obsessed with maintaining this scar, convinced it makes him look majestic and domineering. His companion suggests just cutting himself, but Lilo insists it only counts if it is from a real battle. He has standards. Staring into a hand mirror, he declares his desire for the world's recognition of his rugged good looks. But more importantly, he also wants self-recognition, because a man's gotta respect his own hustle. Just then, Jelong strolls up and casually casts a healing spell, erasing the scar he was so proud of. Our boy asks why Lilo did not mention he was injured, completely oblivious to the aesthetic tragedy he just caused. Lilo absolutely loses it, screaming as his handsome scar vanishes into thin air. The mirror of his dreams shatters. Back in the fight flashback, Jelong tells Merovich they are being watched and need to make the acting believable. His crew debriefs, realizing the signal was to hurt but not kill, and that Merovich's master is just a convenient scapegoat. Elsewhere, that masked observer meets with Merovich, calling her out for failing the mission. She fires back that his intel was garbage, since he conveniently forgot to mention a fifth sealed demon was present. Now she is demanding backup from his boss to capture the princess, and he just assumes she wants more money. But it is not cash she is after, it is 10 bottles of a rare elixir to help her break through to the sixth seal. And in a final twist, a flashback shows Jelong's purple-haired subordinate being promised that exact same elixir as a child. This masked guy explains this elixir is so potent that even a top knight would explode from one dose, and she wants 10. Her contact immediately shuts her down, saying 10 bottles is a fantasy and she will be lucky to get one. And so begins the most intense negotiation of the century, with them haggling over bottles like it is a flea market. Finally, the old man caves, grabbing her and screaming deal before she can up the price again. She settles for 2 bottles, promising to keep tabs on the princess until payment is delivered, a true professional. Meanwhile, Jelong's subordinate tells Feia to just trust the plan as they prepare to head out in the morning. Just then, the green-haired girl from Yvette's crew walks up, formally addressing Jelong and Feia. Jelong's right-hand woman decides it is time to finally let them in on whatever the big secret is. Their reaction to the news is pure, unadulterated shock, jaws on the floor, minds completely blown. A moment later, they are all bowing and scraping, apologizing for their earlier rudeness and thanking Miss Sulla. This green-haired warrior even takes a knee, completely humbled and ashamed of how she acted before. Sulla tells her to cut the drama and just focus on cooperating to get Jelong's arm back. With a newfound fire in her eyes, the girl pledges her absolute loyalty to their command. Her 2 horned companions are basically sparkling with admiration, ready to follow any order given. Over at Yvette's camp, the blonde girl asks to start a fire, complaining about the desert cold. She casually whips out a basic ignition spell, channeling some ancient fire god for a simple campfire. And just like that, a roaring fire springs to life in the middle of the desert night. Soon enough, Yvette's entire crew is passed out, sleeping soundly around the warm flames. But one white-haired kid approaches Jelong, asking about a dark incident from his past with the Order sect. Jelong does not answer, as the rest of his own team is already fast asleep, completely oblivious. This white-haired kid starts grilling Jelong about a past incident at Tears Lake Village. His crew just wants to sleep, with one guy grumbling about gossip and another correcting his potty mouth. Jelong tries to shut it down, telling the kid to get some rest and they will talk later. But then he decides, what the hell, and agrees to tell the whole story. In a flashback, he and a companion named Savka enter a village that was overrun by demons. Inside, they are greeted by the creepy ghosts of a murdered couple still wandering the ruins. These spirits are stuck in a loop, talking about their joyous day with some seriously unsettling smiles. A younger, blue-haired Jelong uses his seal power to quiet the wraiths. He then asks Savka to use her holy light to purify them, even though he could have done it himself. She explains she wants to give them a peaceful end, a touch of mercy in this grim place. With a holy light warm embrace, she unleashes a wave of pure golden energy. This light washes over the ghosts, breaking the curse that bound them to the village. In their final moments, they are restored to their human forms and ascend together, finally free. After the purification, Jelong and Sovka stand together in the quiet aftermath. Our boy looks on with a complicated expression, the weight of the moment clear on his face. Sovka seems completely at peace, her duty done with compassion. Then in a tender moment, Jelong reaches out and takes her hand. Their fingers intertwine, a quiet connection between the two of them. But the scene suddenly blurs with violent motion, shattering the peace. And the flashback ends with Jelong brutally running his sword right through Sovka, a shocking betrayal. This flashback continues with Sovka calmly telling him to stop as his blade is literally at her neck. But it is too late, he has already run her through and she just asks if she was being too forward. Back in the present, Jelong, with his eyes still closed, just tells the white-haired kid to apologize. This kid is, understandably, completely baffled by this sudden demand. Jelong clarifies that touching him without permission is a big no-no and the kid immediately apologizes for being rash. He then explains to his crew it was just a reflex, a subconscious counterattack. A totally normal reaction, right? His purple-haired subordinate just deadpans that yeah, that sounds exactly like something Jelong would do. Meanwhile, the rest of the crew is passed out, with the green-haired girl thinking his trauma response is awesome. This next day, the team overlooks their target, the sprawling desert metropolis of Mud Cow Town. His right-hand woman lays out the plan she will infiltrate, and they will coordinate a pincer attack to get Jair. Inside the city, they find a recruitment drive for the local big bad, King Jair. They overhear a couple of demons casually discussing the slave trade, with one guy getting called out for poaching. This slaver explains that since the king only wants women, he is just grabbing what he can. It is a numbers game. Jelong quietly notes they will have to rescue these poor souls after their main mission is complete. These demons keep chatting, mentioning they can sell the men to the Skin Hunter Brotherhood, a group of fashionable psychos. An announcer calls for the last applicant of the day, which is our hero's cue. Jelong and his crew immediately make a break for the recruitment building. Inside, they find a huge crowd of hopefuls, all looking to join the Demon King's army. A blonde demon named Clover introduces himself as the head examiner, sitting on a throne like a budget supervillain. And he lays down the one and only rule with a creepy smile: they only take elites, no trash. One of the new applicants, a purple-haired demon, is already planning how to look awesome. His plan for looking awesome involves being ruthless, as he threatens to cut off the ears of anyone who disrespects him. This head examiner, Clover, is completely unimpressed with this rowdy bunch, telling them to shut up so the test can begin. He lays out the rules. Everyone steps up to his magic 8-ball to get their talent and power level measured. This test orb is explained. Seal level is just a number, and a high-level idiot can still lose to a skilled veteran. This first poor soul steps up, nervously reaching for the orb as Clover tells him to get on with it. Clover gives a totally not at all threatening pep talk, saying the king loves ruthless people who are willing to risk it all. His results come in as a first seal with an electric talent, and he timidly asks if that is good enough. But Clover's internal monologue is less than impressed, judging him for weak strength and a cowardly personality. His verdict is delivered with a single monstrous word: trash. Then he tells the rest of the room if they know they are trash, they should just leave now and save him the trouble. One guy objects to being called trash, earning him a personal visit from Clover's horrifyingly long tongue, which then whips back, smashing the poor dude into the wall and taking his arm off in the process. Clover then gives his life advice: if you admit you are trash, what is the point of even living? This applicant lies broken against the shattered wall, a pretty clear answer to that question. Suddenly, a pile of crushed bodies and rubble rains down from the ceiling. Guess these are the other trash applicants. Jelong's companion stares at the horrifying ball of bodies, wondering what in the world that thing is. Meanwhile, Clover asks his assistant why the king's favorite concubine is in the next room of all places. This assistant then orders soldiers to move the concubine back immediately, warning them not to damage it. And it turns out the concubine is that horrifying sphere of crushed bodies, which soldiers are now trying to haul away. A closer look at the concubine reveals it is a horrifying sphere of mangled bodies, still crying. Jelong watches this display of casual cruelty with a cold, unreadable expression on his face. A sudden flashback shows a person in a red scarf being swallowed by a similar fleshy horror, revealing they were once a prisoner, led away by these very same types of demons. This memory clearly weighs on him, his face shadowed with a grim and painful determination. Back in the present, Clover just tells everyone to ignore the human gumball and get on with the test. HR is a joke here. He calls up the next applicant, who immediately tries to fake a stomach ache to get out of it. But Jelong just strolls right past him, cutting in line because he is also in a hurry. Our boy asks to confirm the rules: you just have to be strong or ruthless, nothing else. This other demons think he is just stalling, with the purple-haired guy planning to use the distraction to escape. Clover gets annoyed, telling him to just touch the damn orb and stop wasting his time. Then Jelong flips the script, asking Clover if he is strong enough for what is coming. This examiner puffs up his chest, offended that anyone would question his third seal authority. He accuses Jelong of stalling for a painless death and whips out that horrifying tongue again. But Jelong is faster, summoning a lightning-charged dagger in a flash of purple energy, and he brutally stabs it right through Clover's tongue, pinning it to the table. With the examiner immobilized, Jelong calmly reaches out and takes the glowing test orb for himself, leaving Clover sputtering in absolute shock and agony, unable to even scream properly. Jelong just holds the orb, looking cool as ice after completely derailing the entire recruitment drive. And then he crushes the sphere in his hand, shattering the test and any hope of a peaceful infiltration. Jelong holds up the bloody, shattered remains of the test orbs, so much for a peaceful job application. From the shadows, his eye glares with cold fury, promising the real test is just beginning. This other applicants are frozen in pure terror, realizing they are way out of their league. Then he gently places the broken orb on the table, a nice little paperweight for the examiner's tongue. Wiping his hand, Jelong asks if he is qualified, and the subordinate immediately agrees. Yeah, he is very qualified. An official then tells the new recruits to head to their tents and be ready for the king's inspection at any time. Inside his new quarters, Jelong pulls out a small, familiar-looking scroll. A quick flashback reveals this scroll was part of the plan from a few hours earlier. His subordinate had explained it is a real-time replicator scroll, perfect for sending messages back to the team. So now he writes his first update. I have infiltrated Mud Cow Town. Meanwhile, in a hidden cave, the rest of the crew waits anxiously for any news. Their copy of the scroll lights up, and one of the guys excitedly announces a message from Jelong has arrived. This whole team immediately gathers around, their expressions turning serious as they read the update. His message lays out the next steps: get intel on Jair and find a way to isolate him for the final attack. Suddenly, a guard shows up announcing King Jair wants to see the outstanding new recruit personally. Back in the tent, Jelong prepares himself, a strange golden energy glowing around his arm. As they lead him away, one guard admits to the other he was too scared to even search the new guy. But their boss, a much bigger demon, bursts in and demands a body search right now. Jelong, already shirtless, just tells him to suit yourself, looking completely unbothered by the whole thing. And so begins the most awkward pat-down in demon history, with the guard getting way too handsy. After a pat-down that violated several personal space treaties, the guard finds no suspicious items. He then tells Jelong to follow him for a private audience with the great King Jair himself. A quick flashback reveals exactly how he passed, by surgically embedding a scroll into his own arm. He then used a healing spell to seal the wound just moments before the guards arrived. What a bell tolls from a Gothic tower, signaling their arrival at the king's inner sanctum. This guard presents the outstanding new recruit and is promptly dismissed by an unseen voice. As the guard's footsteps fade, Jelong sizes up the room, his face a mask of cold focus. He immediately identifies his target, Jair, and realizes the king is somehow using his arm. From across the hall, ethereal music drifts from a grand piano under a massive stained glass window, and the pianist is revealed to be a monstrous demon with a grin full of nightmares. Meet King Jair. His massive hands glide over the keys, playing a surprisingly delicate tune for a guy who looks like that. Jelong just watches this whole performance, completely unfazed by the villain's dramatic flair. A closer look shows one of his hands is human while the other is demonic, a nice unsettling detail. This music stops and the king finally acknowledges his guest from across the vast room. He explains that he plays the piano to suppress his homicidal urges, which is a totally normal hobby. Jair tells him not to be nervous because this is just a friendly job interview. Sure it is. Towering over our boy, he asks if Jelong has any questions about the army or its glorious leader. Jelong immediately turns it around, asking why a king would even want to suppress his desire to kill. This king explains he is trying to be a demon who does not kill, pointing to a captured bandit as proof of his restraint. But Jelong calls BS, arguing that killing is as natural to demons as breathing. Jair's inner monologue kicks off, explaining that killing is just a demon's natural instinct. But he believes he has the freedom to choose a different path. A real demon philosopher, this guy. Back to the interview, he asks Jelong if he recognized the piano piece he was playing earlier. Jelong just plays it cool, claiming he knows absolutely nothing about human music. And for that little lie, he gets a fist slammed right into his gut, so much for a friendly chat. Jair calls him out immediately, having noticed Jelong flinched at a single wrong note. With a menacing glare, the king demands to know the truth about him. He grabs Jelong by the throat, asking if his bloodlust is just instinct or a genuine passion. Our boy just grins through the blood, admitting it is a bit of both, half and half. After checking his pulse, Jair confirms he is not lying and casually tosses him aside. This king then gets all preachy, calling Jelong a slave to his nature for not seeking freedom. In his monstrous form, he calls him pathetic for embracing his killer instinct instead of fighting it. But Jelong flips it, arguing that a great king needs an obedient slave to do the things he will not. This gets Jair's attention, who now asks what Jelong actually wants from him. Jelong rises to his feet, ready to deliver the perfect, calculated answer. He claims that only by serving the king can he truly satisfy his desire to kill, and Jair buys it. With the deal seemingly sealed, Jelong has officially passed the most violent job interview ever. Just then, the sound of bare feet echoes through the throne room. Jelong's head whips around, his focus immediately shifting to the newcomer, and a young red-haired girl runs in with a flower crown, happily calling out for her papa. This little girl proudly offers her papa a flower crown she made just for him. A flashback reveals she waited patiently in the ruins for the flowers to fall naturally. It was a long wait, she explains, all to avoid hurting the flowers by picking them. And for this sweet gesture, Jair slams her face first into the stone floor. With the crown shattered, he scolds her for daring to run around without permission. This do not kill philosopher then screams at her for being deaf, leaving her bleeding on the floor. Jelong watches this whole display as Jair complains humans are harder to train than dogs. This poor kid is on the ground, begging Papa to stop, admitting she was wrong. But Jair just grabs her by the chin, clearly not done with his lesson. He lifts her up, forbidding her from ever calling him Papa again, and with a terrifying glare he reminds her she is just a lowly slave. Just then, a guard bursts in with urgent news. The infamous evil dragon is flying in from the east. Jair notes the dragon probably has bad intentions, all while still holding the terrified girl. After that, he dismisses her, telling Xena to go back to the basement by herself. With that family drama handled, he tells the guard he is satisfied with Jelong and to take him back to camp. As the guard leads him away, Jelong walks in complete silence. His expression cold and unreadable, but you just know gears are turning in that head of his. A final glance back shows Xena walking alone down a desolate alleyway, a new piece of the puzzle. Meanwhile, a massive blue dragon soars towards the town. This must be the evil dragon they were talking about. It lands dramatically beneath the bell tower, ready to make one hell of an entrance. Without any warning, Jair just hurls a massive boulder at the newly arrived dragon. This dragon's eye widens, sensing a powerful seal fluctuation coming from the bell tower, and that rock smacks it right out of the sky, sending it tumbling backwards. A massive shockwave sends the creature reeling from the sheer force of the attack. So the evil dragon just tucks tail and flies off into the distance, a surprisingly short visit. Jelong watches it all go down, vowing to take back the power Jair is wielding. One of Jair's men starts kissing up, praising the king for scaring off the dragon so easily. Meanwhile, Jelong is already scouting, using a thorny snake familiar to analyze the town's patrol system. His little spy slithers unseen past the guards' feet as they make their rounds. And a couple of them yelp after getting pricked by the thorns, occupational hazard, I guess. Turns out the thorns are injecting a subtle seal power into them, marking them without their knowledge. This allows Jelong's familiar to trace their exact patrol routes through the ruined town, revealing a complex network of overlapping paths that he needs to memorize. Back in his room, he starts mapping everything out, planning to find the perfect route for an assassination. He then notices a single purple flower, picking it up with a thoughtful expression. Elsewhere, Xena is locked away in a dark cell, looking utterly broken after her father's lesson. This poor kid is chained to the ceiling by her neck, left to sit alone in the straw. Suddenly, she hears a noise at her cell door and cautiously asks who is there. And it is Jelong, passing the flowers he found through the bars, saying he thought she might like them. Her face lights up with pure joy as she takes the flowers and runs off, ready to try making that crown again. She figures her last flower crown was just ugly, which is why he hated it, while Jelong notes her cell is not even locked. He then asks the obvious question, why would a human girl ever call a monster like Jair daddy? With a heartbreakingly cheerful smile, she explains Jair is the kindest person she has ever met. She even justifies the collar as protection and says he only hits her a few times. What a guy. Jelong questions her definition of kind, but she just says everyone else she met was way worse. A brutal flashback reveals her past involved being left for dead, impaled on a stone slab. Realizing she is completely brainwashed, Jelong offers to show her the outside world and its kind people. This very idea of interesting things seems to spark something in her for the first time. Our boy's already thinking she needs a proper mentor to fix this mess, and he's got a few candidates in mind. Xena gets excited, asking him to tell her story since her papa forbids her from leaving or making friends. But Jelong reminds himself the mission comes first. He needs intel on Jair and cannot get sidetracked. He tells her he has to go for now, and she happily waves him off, asking him to visit again. Once he is gone, she panics, noticing the chain on her collar has come loose. So she immediately starts tightening it herself, terrified of what Jair will do if he finds out. With a tear in her eye, she pulls the collar snug, choosing her prison over his wrath. Meanwhile, out in the desert, a blue-haired woman is told she has fled right into Jair's territory. Her pursuer, an old man, decides he will just have to negotiate with this new player. He then unleashes a shadowy seal power, sending it out to make his presence known. Massive shadow tendrils snake their way into the throne room, reaching for Jair himself. And the king just calmly pours himself a glass of wine, completely unfazed by the intrusion. Back in the throne room, Jair activates a massive seal power detection field to find his uninvited guest. This golden energy waves immediately ping a shadowy snake familiar hiding in the rafters. But its master, the old man from the desert, just scoffs at the attempt, calling it child's play. Jair sips his wine, calmly telling the intruder to stop hiding since the game is already up. With its cover blown, the shadowy snake prepares to make a much more formal entrance. A swirling vortex of darkness pools on the throne room floor, a bold choice in home decor. This old man's face emerges from the portal, immediately insulting Jair's entire ugly demon race. Unfazed, Jair just lounges on his throne, admitting the guy has guts for starting a conversation like that. This old man clarifies he and the evil dragon are only here to find someone and want no trouble. Jair is not impressed by someone breaking in and then making demands, the absolute nerve of this geezer. His face twists into a demonic snarl as he points out his guest's complete lack of manners. But the old man fires back, boasting that he could kill the demon king in under 3 minutes. Just then, a new voice calls out to Lord Simon as a glowing purple lantern materializes from the shadows. Simon looks relieved, asking his boss to help him deal with this stumbling block of a king. Jair's eyes widen in shock, recognizing the legendary space-crossing spirit realm lantern. Simon smirks, telling the king it is a little late to be scared now that the real power has arrived. But Jair just grins, holding up an identical lantern and saying, "What a coincidence, I have one too." This old man's jaw just hits the floor, his smug confidence completely shattered in an instant. A shadowy third party appears, telling them to stop arguing because fighting is a great bonding activity. This figure reveals a blonde man who praises them both as good subordinates, one for hoarding troops, one for taking hostages. What a wholesome team. This new blonde boss Matthias sits on a throne while Jair and Simon stand before him like scolded children. Jelong's snake familiar connects the dots. This guy is the puppet master behind the princess's capture in Jair. Matthias grabs Jair's wrist, casually calling the demon king a rook on his personal chessboard. He then takes Simon's hand, labeling the old man his bishop. This guy really loves a theme. With both of them in his grasp, he explains his grand game only works if his pieces stay put. Simon immediately starts kissing up, praising the boss's genius plan to restore the royal line. With a smug grin, Matthias turns to Jair, asking about a bounty he placed on 4 assassins. Jair explains he fought them off but issued the bounty just in case, only for his new boss to tell him to cancel it. He then condescendingly pats the demon king on the head like a disobedient dog. The disrespect is staggering. This guy literally tells Jair to be a good boy, explaining he was bought as part of an obedient package deal. His creepy smile just screams, "Do not make me worry," which is villain speak for or else. Jair clenches his fist, reminding Matthias about that little promise of freedom he was given. Matthias just blinks, casually recalling the word freedom like it is an item on a grocery list. He pulls out a strange magical device, wondering aloud where his supplier even finds these things. Turns out it is a remote detonator for a bomb in Jair's head. Crush one half and the other goes boom. He then dangles that freedom carrot again, asking if the king is happy just thinking about it. With the power play over, he gets down to business, giving new orders to Simon and the evil dragon. Then he tells Jair to take him to his favorite concubine's room, announcing he has brought some new women. Simon obediently summons the spirit realm lantern, ready to do whatever his master commands. As Jair walks off to prepare a room, Jelong's little snake spy decides to follow him for more intel. Jelong's little spy slithers after Jair, heading deep into the fortress's underbelly. This demon king descends a massive spiral staircase into what looks like the abyss itself. Our boy keeps his distance, peering through his familiar's eyes at the king's secret project. And what a project it is! Jair stands before a horrifying sphere made of countless writhing bodies. Holding the lantern, he asks if his new children are ready to be born, and a voice confirms they are. A grotesque creature then pushes out a pulsating red orb, which is just all kinds of wrong. This fleshy egg thing just sits there, vibrating with some nasty, unholy energy. Its membrane stretches thin as whatever's inside starts clawing its way out. A monstrous hand rips through the sack, ready for some fresh air and probably violence. Out crawls a freshly made demon, already begging for orders like a good little soldier. Turns out the mother is a one-woman assembly line, popping out these demon eggs left and right. Matthias explains his brilliant new method for mass-producing demons with built-in killing instincts and obedience. An entire army of these new demons stands at attention, awaiting their very first command. Jair addresses his new troops, telling them they will join his forces under a new deputy commander. As for the duds, Matthias casually tells him to just destroy the failed experiments, no refunds. Matthias waxes poetic about carving demons into art, while Jair just thinks he knows nothing about it, a true connoisseur. Meanwhile, back at his fancy villa, Matthias sips wine and complains about a lack of romance. He is watching a group of women being escorted onto his property, the new women he mentioned earlier. This women gossip, with one cynically assuming their new lord is just another smelly old creep. Matthias then takes one of their hands with a practiced, gentle touch that is absolutely not reassuring at all. Matthias lays on the charm with one of the new women who is completely surprised by his sudden appearance. This woman is instantly starstruck, realizing he is the famous Lord Matthias of the First Dynasty. Her friends are already swooning, gushing over how handsome and elegant he is, a real upgrade apparently. They all start clamoring for his attention, practically begging to serve him as personal maids. With a smile that is absolutely not reassuring, he tells them all to huddle up nice and close. This group gathers as instructed, a mix of excitement and confusion on their faces. He puts a hand on the blue-haired woman's shoulder, and her expression immediately shifts to pure unease. In the next instant, she is screaming as dark energy just erupts from her body. And this horrifying vortex of shadows consumes the entire group in a flash. What is left is a grotesque, writhing mass of fused bodies, a living sculpture of pure pain. Matthias holds up the spirit realm lantern, revealing it as the source of this absolute nightmare fuel. He just stands there admiring his handiwork, the lantern pulsing over his new art piece. Elsewhere, Jelong discovers another one of these flesh abominations, labeled Flesh Art Mixed Pigments. Back with Jair, he casually calls the new horror his favorite concubine and tells his men to put the lantern away. His guards then shove the writhing mass of people through a set of heavy stone doors. Jelong watches from the shadows as this whole disturbing process unfolds. He tries to use a healing spell on the fused bodies, a green light glowing from his hand. But it is completely useless. The spell cannot reverse whatever twisted magic has been done to them. Our boy realizes Matthias's seal fused them into one inseparable creature, a truly horrifying power. With a look of cold fury, he is clearly not letting this go. Someone's getting a visit. Jair coldly orders Xena to get up after she is collapsed on the floor next to her flower crown. Peeking from the shadows, Jelong watches Jair demand to see the number on her neck. This poor girl just clutches her collar, her expression a heartbreaking mix of fear and confusion. This revelation hits Jelong hard. She has a sea of corpses and blood, talent seal and nose to hide it from Matthias. While she offers him a new flower crown, Jair monologues about the irony of him fighting for a freedom she rejects. She just goes ahead and places the purple flower crown on his head anyway. Peak, I can fix him energy. With a huge smile, she explains she is scared of freedom because she would not get to see him happy. For a moment he just stares, the flower crown giving him a surprisingly festive look for a demon king, but the moment's over and he orders her to get back to cleaning up his horrifying corpse piles. She clenches her fist, a look of grim determination on her face as she prepares to obey. In an instant, she unleashes her power and the entire pile of bodies just explodes in a shower of gore. As blood splatters everywhere, we get a clear look at the Roman numerals on her collar, the number he wanted to see. She just stands there, completely stoic and spattered with blood from her grim work. Our boy can only watch in stunned silence, finally understanding what kind of talent she possesses. Her power is revealed, Sea of Corpses and Blood Authority, subtitled Happy Play, because of course it is. This blood magic then forms a terrifying, vaguely heart-shaped shadow entity that looms over her. The scale of this thing is absolutely insane, a towering abyss of shadow with giant, hypnotic red eyes. Jelong's own eyes are glowing bright green, his face set with grim resolve at this sight. He realizes it is not a talent, it is a curse, a parasitic dark creature that feeds on slaughter growing inside her. And apparently the only thing that can possibly suppress this absolute nightmare is something called the Wedge of Heaven. A sudden vision hits Jelong of Xena, bleeding and desperately crying out for her father. He remembers being told the only way to suppress her curse is to use the Wedge of Heaven. And there it is, a nail-like object driven right into the forehead of that shadowy nightmare creature. In the vision, Jair grabs the wedge with a brutal yank. This unleashes a torrent of dark, bloody energy that completely engulfs Xena. This raw power of the curse just rips her apart from the inside out. From the shadows, Jelong can only watch in absolute horror as this unfolds. This vision ends with Jair standing over her seemingly lifeless body, the curse finally gone. Having seen enough, Jelong's little snake familiar wisely decides to peace out. Back in his own body, our boy knows he cannot win if Jair and Xena team up, he has to free her. A dark inner voice immediately taunts him, asking if he wants to save her or just steal her power. But Jelong's resolve is firm, he just does not want her to suffer the same cursed fate he has. Elsewhere, a purple-haired demon commander reads a report, realizing she has to delay her plans now that Jair has a new powerhouse. She tells a green-haired woman that her group is not ready to fight both demons and humans. Instead, she writes a letter of recommendation to a certain Hoya, detailing their helpful actions. This green-haired woman gratefully accepts, seeing a clear path to a better position for her people. Her subordinates are already celebrating their future riches and promotions, a totally healthy mindset in a war. But the commander just smirks, casually dropping the ultimate jinx that people who plan for after the war usually die. Her crew immediately freezes, covering their mouths in superstitious terror. She just laughs at their panic, clearly enjoying being the harbinger of bad vibes. Matthias is back to his favorite hobby, playing chess and monologuing about his grand game. He notes his troop sources are growing stronger, all conveniently hidden away in a place called Mud Cow Town. This next move involves capturing Princess Yvette, calling Simon a useless but necessary tool for the job. But his allies are a problem. Some guy named Barnier sold out Jair and Jelong's arm, then completely vanished. This forces a flashback to a year ago, revealing he is counting on some mysterious person from the ruins of White Road City. In the past, he and a subordinate head to a meeting with an eternal demon king named Zhu, feeling pretty confident. Suddenly, a strange patterned ball rolls right into their path, which is never a good sign. Matthias's eyes narrow, his calm facade cracking for just a second. He knows this is not random. And there is the source, a demon king in a throne-like wheelchair demanding he hand over the ball. Matthias plays it cool, picking up the object as if he is just grabbing a dropped wallet. He offers to heal the demon's body while his lackey secretly signals him to be ready to bolt at a moment's notice. Turns out the gift is Jelong's severed arm, which he presents with a smile that is pure poison. But the demon king Zhu just flat out refuses, citing a personal grudge and wanting no part of it. Matthias is left speechless for a beat, his perfect little power play hitting a major snag. So he pivots, offering to find other asterisk limbs in exchange for the demon's future assistance. In another flashback, a noble thanks Hoya for sparing the remnants of the old dynasty 20 years ago. This Hoya, a king, looks exhausted as he agrees to grant them titles just to end the bloodshed. Back in the present, a terrifyingly distorted Matthias declares that Hoya does not get to quit the game now that it has started. Elsewhere, a red-haired girl in chains draws on a wall while a massive shadow looms over her. She just looks up with a smile, happily greeting her visitor like this is a totally normal playdate. This cloaked visitor, leaking some seriously ominous energy, appears before the chained girl in her cell. He gives her a look that is 1 part boredom and 2 parts I am so over this. On the wall, a child's drawing shows a happy little family holding hands with a monster, but she is just thrilled to have company, eagerly asking for a story from the outside world. He asks if she knows of White Road City, and she recalls her dad's tales of a rich, prosperous place. A flicker of something sad crosses his face as he listens to her. He decides to tell her a story about someone he thinks she might relate to, and we flash back 33 years to the perpetually rainy, industrial-looking White Road City. This story begins with a boy born in autumn, a season of constant rain in the city. In a rare moment of peace, his parents dote on him as a newborn baby. His mother's hands were always stained blue-purple from her grueling work dyeing fabrics. As a child, the boy would watch the rain, a wilting flower his only companion on the windowsill. Meanwhile, his father was always coughing from his own backbreaking job in some kind of forge. Neighbors would gossip about the family, calling their quiet son a mute and a burden. Real charmers, these people. His father fiercely defends him, insisting he is just a late bloomer, not a burden. This whole town is struggling, with new taxes being piled on to fund a war. His parents come home defeated, wondering how they will even survive the year ahead. This little boy overhears their worries, his innocent expression turning to concern. In response, he just runs up and gives his parents a huge, reassuring hug, and for a moment their smiles return, finding comfort in their son despite the bleak reality. His father gives him a few coins, sending him out to buy the cheapest bread they can afford. While at the market, he overhears talk of a massive peasant uprising led by some cook. This kid just trudges home through a desolate, rain-soaked alley, clutching his family's dinner. He suddenly glances back, sensing he is not alone in the downpour. And there is another boy, much better dressed, casually tossing a coin and looking bored. This newcomer leans against the wall, a stark contrast to our boy's ragged clothes. Our kid just clutches his bread, a little intimidated by this random stranger. This well-dressed boy calls him an eyesore for just standing there silently. What a charmer. In response, the kid just offers him a piece of bread with a completely innocent smile. It is a simple, kind gesture in this absolute cesspool of a city. Stunned for a second, the other boy actually accepts the offering. He eats the bread while our boy just watches, the two of them alone in the ruins. As our kid turns to leave, the other boy just watches him go. But of course, two thugs pop out of nowhere to mug a literal child for bread money. They grab him, but a voice rings out, calling them out for bullying the weak. It is the well-dressed kid, stepping in like some pint-sized hero of justice. This thugs just laugh, seeing a buy one, get one free deal on rich kids. With a look of pure disdain, he calls their survival of the fittest excuse barbaric. He then preaches that true strength protects the weak, a lesson from his father. These thugs are not in the mood for a philosophy debate and just pull out their knives. This well-dressed kid unleashes his talent. King of Kings, a terrifying shadow form that is not happy about its clothes getting dirty, and the thugs immediately realize they have made a catastrophic, career-ending mistake. With a wave of dark energy, they are just gone, while our boy can only watch in awe. He is completely speechless, having just seen a kid his age casually erase two grown men. His new friend tells him not to kneel, since protecting the weak is just what strong people do, a very humble take. He then tosses the bread, saying he has already been paid, looking smug as hell about it. And just like that, a friendship is born over a shared piece of bread in a miserable, rainy alley. Time passes, and we see them playing together in the winter snow, just a couple of normal kids. In the spring, they are running through sunny fields, their friendship growing stronger. By summer, they are just hanging out by the water, completely at ease with each other. But the story jumps back to the rain as our boy eagerly pulls his friend somewhere. This rich kid calls him Little Mute, asking what is so exciting that he is dragging him through the city. Turns out the big event is a public hanging because this town is just a bucket of joy. His friend complains about the crowd, preferring a library as they watch from a wall above. But our kid points insistently, making sure his friend sees what is about to happen. A man is sentenced to death by hanging for being a repeat thief. We get a grim shot of the man choking as the sentence is carried out. It is an absolutely brutal close-up of his final, agonizing moments. And our quiet little protagonist is watching this horror with a curious, almost delighted smile. His friend, however, is completely horrified, finally seeing the darkness inside the boy he befriended. After seeing his friend's twisted smile, the rich kid leans against the wall, looking like he is about to be sick. He officially ends their friendship, saying a future Chief Justice cannot be seen with the likes of him. Wow, classy. As they part ways, he vows to reform the city's cruel laws, completely blind to his own hypocrisy. This scene pulls back to show the grim reality of White Road City, a castle looming over endless slums. A sudden flash cuts through the memory, shifting the story forward, to a hand catching that intricately patterned ball we have seen before. In a much happier time, the rich kid waves goodbye, promising our boy they will play again tomorrow. Our kid heads home through the rain, overhearing whispers that the lords are about to crack down on rebel sympathizers. Meanwhile, his friend arrives at his ridiculously huge mansion, where a butler informs him the master is waiting. A massive shadow falls over the boy as he is scolded for neglecting his studies. His father lectures him about his future duties and avoiding fair-weather friends, so that is where he got the line. For his punishment, he has 1 week to memorize a whole volume of laws, or he is not allowed outside. With that delightful parenting moment over, his dad heads off to a meeting with the noble council. Back in the slums, our boy is just happily tossing his ball in the rain, completely unaware of what is coming. A city guard shoves him hard, yelling at the peasant to get out of the way. He gets knocked flat on his face, his precious ball rolling away into a puddle. As he scrambles to get it, he looks up at the commotion just down the street, and his eyes go wide with absolute horror. Soldiers are rounding up workers from the dye house and pottery factory, accusing them of aiding the rebel army. In the middle of the chaos, they are dragging away his terrified parents as he clings to them, crying. Guards tear his family apart right in front of him, his whole world collapsing in the rain. He is left scrambling in the mud as the prison wagon disappears, his precious ball forgotten. Meanwhile, the city's council debates how to handle the rebel problem by making a very public, very bloody example. This rich kid's dad, the Chief Justice, pretends to be concerned, saying executing over 100 people is just so cruel. All eyes are on him as the other nobles wait for the final word from their oh-so-merciful leader. But then the mask slips, his face going dark as he weighs his options. He argues that letting the rebellion fester would lead to even more chaos and bloodshed, a classic for the greater good speech. His solution, when faced with two evils, you pick one and call it justice, leading to a mass public hanging. and our poor kid is running through the crowd of grieving families desperately trying to find his parents, only to look up and see them hanging from the gallows, their final moments pure agony. His face is just a mask of pure, unadulterated horror and despair. In a gut-wrenching scene, he desperately clings to their legs, trying to hold them up. Two guards watch on, one of them casually telling his partner not to rush things. These absolute gems then start making bets on how long the kid can last, because of course they do. While the boy holds on, they are literally betting on his endurance, 2 hours, maybe half a day. Back at the mansion, the rich kid is grounded, staring out the window into the same rain. He looks worried as the storm gets worse, completely oblivious to the real storm his friend is in. This butler reminds him he cannot go out until he memorizes the laws, the same laws that just murdered his friend's parents. But he has a bad feeling and insists on going outside, sensing something is terribly wrong. He opens the door only to find his father standing there, fresh from his day of state-sanctioned murder. This Chief Justice lies straight to his son's face, claiming nothing is happening outside, a masterclass in gaslighting. He insists it is just a normal rainy autumn evening, trying to keep the boy locked away from the truth. But just outside, dozens of bodies hang from the gallows, a monument to his father's justice. Back at the execution, our boy is still desperately trying to hold up his parents' weight, sobbing in the rain. In their final moments, they tell him not to worry, a last gut-wrenching act of love. His face is just pure, unadulterated agony as he watches the life drain from them. They beg him to let go, to stop suffering for their sake, but he refuses, his small frame shaking with the impossible effort of saving them. His legs tremble on the slick stone, his strength fading with every second. He slips and stumbles, the rain and mud working against his desperate attempt. For a moment, he finds his footing again, refusing to give up even as his body fails him. And then he collapses, his grip finally broken, falling into the cold, unforgiving water. He can only stare up in horror, the realization of his failure hitting him like a physical blow. This scene pulls back to show him utterly alone, a small, broken child beneath the gallows. One of the guards strolls over, calling him useless trash for finally collapsing. This absolute gem then complains that the kid made him lose his bet on drinking money, priorities, you know. As the guard grabs him to throw him out, a strange yellow energy starts to crackle around the boy. Suddenly, the kid's hand shoots out and grabs the guard's wrist with impossible strength. This guard is completely stunned, yelling at the mute to let go of his dirty hands. But the boy will not let go, his rage finally boiling over as his parents' bodies sway above them. With a scream of pure rage, he unleashes that strange power, his eyes glowing yellow. This energy blast sends the guard stumbling back, completely stunned by the kid's sudden attack. His buddies immediately draw their weapons, ready to put down this peasant for good. In a flash, our boy is on top of the first guard, grabbing his sword to turn it on him. Another guard leaps in with a massive halberd, swinging down with full force. And the kid takes a brutal hit right to the jaw, spitting out a spray of blood. He is sent flying backwards through the air, completely disarmed and vulnerable. Landing hard in the freezing water, he can only look up at his parents' bodies still hanging above. Despite the beating, his face is a mask of cold, terrifying resolve. And now the archers are taking aim because overkill is the city's official policy. He clenches his eyes shut, bracing for the inevitable volley of arrows. But then he makes a break for it, scrambling up a stone wall as arrows rain down. One of the arrows finds its mark, piercing him straight through the back. Even with an arrow in him, he keeps climbing, leaving the guards watching from the street. This commander yells for them to split up and hunt the little beast through the alleys. He disappears into the sprawling, rain-soaked slums of White Road City. Finding a moment's cover, he collapses against a wall, trying to deal with his wound. Just then, he sees a starving, skeletal man shuffling past, a grim vision of the city's cruelty. This man collapses in the rain, literally begging for someone to put him out of his misery. And in that moment, something inside our boy breaks completely, his tears mixing with a newfound coldness. A monstrous voice whispers in his ear, twisting his friend's words about helping the weak into a justification for slaughter. He asks what it is, and the shadow calls itself his partner, his destiny, and a part of him. As he chokes the starving man, his inner demon asks why he'd ever say no to it. His eyes glow with a terrifying new light, the humanity draining away with every second. But the entity insists it cannot control him, claiming his actions are his own free will, a classic gaslighting demon. This voice taunts him about his parents' weakness, insisting he was born to dominate, not be dominated. With a single tear, he questions what he was born for, and the voice calls him a rainstorm meant to destroy everything. It keeps pushing, asking why he is hesitating when he could be unstoppable and destructive. His face twists into a terrifying grin, his eyes glowing red as he fully embraces the darkness inside. Meanwhile, the guards are still searching the alleys, completely unaware of what they are about to walk into. One of them finds the starving man's body, looking more confused than concerned. He raises his sword, maybe to finish the job, but something stops him cold. This guard looks up, his face a mask of pure shock at what he is seeing just off-panel. Down the alley, he sees a street littered with the bodies of his fellow guards, and in the shadows, our boy is standing there, looking less like a child and more like a nightmare. This camera pulls back to reveal the full-on massacre he has just committed in the rain. He looks down at his work, blood-splattered and cold, a strange mark now visible on his neck. Then he lets out a primal scream, unleashing all that dark energy in a wave of pure agony and rage. This story cuts to a different part of the city, where a guarded cart moves through the miserable crowds. Starving citizens beg the guards for milk, but are told it is not for them, just another day in this five-star resort town. A younger guard suggests sparing some milk, but his partner says it is for Lady Talia's bath and they will die if a drop is missing. This is all for Lady Talia, a noble council member who literally feeds on the city's fear to maintain her power. This older guard lectures him about their duty, calling themselves shepherds who manage the commoner sheep with whips. He explains that fear is the ultimate tool for control, making the terrified populace docile and obedient. And just then our boy strikes the younger guard mid-lecture, a perfect, bloody counterpoint to his speech. This entire milk cart explodes into splinters, sending barrels flying and knocking the older guard flat on his back. Stunned, the guard looks up from the ground as the commoners stare in absolute shock at the sudden violence. With the younger guard bleeding out, our boy picks up a broken shard of pottery from the mud. He then drinks the spilled milk mixed with blood and rainwater, looking completely feral. His former mentor calls him an audacious commoner with a death wish, which is not a great threat to make right now. In response, our boy brings a massive bloody pickaxe down on the terrified guard. This guard immediately starts begging for his life, pulling out the classic "I was just following orders" defense. But our boy's inner monologue rages about the injustice of it all, questioning why nobles get to live while others starve. His eyes glowing with dark energy, he stands over the guard, ready to make them pay the price. This single act of defiance against the nobles' soldiers ignites the long-repressed spirits of the people, sparking an uprising. Elsewhere, the city is in chaos as a man tries to direct guards, all while a noblewoman watches from under an umbrella. Lady Talia gets a report that a beast is causing a small-scale riot in the outer city, a slight understatement. Her attendant begs for help, but she sighs that it is a pain because she just got her nails done this morning. And we see the full-blown uprising in action, with commoners fighting guards in a desperate battle for their lives. This guards greet her on the front lines, pointing out the rebels who are now facing a true monster. Lady Talia, ever the compassionate leader, gives the order to execute everyone without mercy. But the people are done being sheep, their eyes glowing with a rage that matches our boys'. A burning spider on a web symbolizes their new philosophy: if we burn, you burn with us. And just like that, the entire city is engulfed in flames, the rebellion spreading like wildfire. This chaos has even reached the fancy part of town, with bodies littering a noble's estate. Inside, the Chief Justice shoves his son into a room, telling him to hide while he plays hero with a sword. He then promptly locks the kid in because nothing says "I trust you" like a deadbolt. His son is desperately pounding on the door, begging to be let out to help his father. Realizing that is not happening, he turns to the window, a new plan forming in his mind. He remembers his friend's wall-climbing lessons, a skill that is about to come in very handy. With a crash, the window glass shatters all over the marble floor, and he lands outside, free from his gilded cage and ready to face the storm. His face is set with a grim determination we have not seen from him before. Looking down, he sees his father on the ground, with our boy standing over him holding a bloody blade. He screams out in horror, seeing his best friend about to kill his dad. This Chief Justice, terrified, can only tell his son to run as the demonic-looking kid glares down. But instead of running, the rich kid's eyes start glowing purple as he charges forward in a rage. Our boy turns to meet the challenge, his own eyes glowing a furious red. Outside, lightning splits the sky, perfectly setting the mood for this tragic showdown. This two former friends face off, their powers flaring, about to collide in a battle of grief and fury. This Chief Justice's son is pure rage, his purple eyes flaring as he faces his former friend. Our boy looks back, the demonic confidence suddenly shaken by this unexpected confrontation. For just a moment, the killer persona falters and he can barely get a word out, and that single moment of hesitation gets him slammed right onto the ground. He is sent flying backwards, sword still in hand, as his friend stands guard over the Chief Justice. Sometime later, he wanders the city alone, understanding that in this war, nobody won anything. A new, fiery power starts to burn in his eyes, replacing the cold darkness from before. His entire body is now wreathed in flames, a walking inferno of grief and rage in the rain. Then we jump to a cell where a red-haired girl asks a cloaked man why everyone's story is so tragic. She questions if the dark entity was responsible, but he explains that it cannot actually control someone's actions. He then drops the bombshell that every single choice was made by our boy himself.